Hi, very good morning to you. Welcome to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM. We are also on Channel 1 Television and on our socials. My name is Selorm Adonoo. This morning, two key issues on our table. First has to do with the 2026 budget statement that was read in Parliament by the Finance Minister. A number of key issues have come up. There's some allocations that have been made to some sectors, and some macroeconomic targets have been set. We'll look back on the 2025 budget and see what the 2026 budget is offering and how that translates to growth and jobs, which is what the people want. Also, later on in the show, we will look at the matter of the military recruitment and the stampede that occurred that led to the loss of some 6 lives of females. Is there anything we can do about how we recruit our people rather than making 20,000 young people gather at a place with the risk of chaos as we saw the last time? Is it about time we modernized how our recruitment exercises are done? Couldn't we have decentralized this more than we currently have to even the district level, or maybe extend or expand the time so that we can do so in 1 month or 2 months, reducing the numbers that gather at such venues every time? We'll look at all of these and see what measures can be put in place. We understand that the military is investigating the matter and may come up with some report, obviously, which we think will have some recommendations for the future. And if there are punishments or sanctions to be meted out, we expect same to be done. The show is live and interactive. As always, you can join via our WhatsApp line 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996. And we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. Once again, my name is Selorm Adonoo. I will get back, provide you some updates, introduce my guests, and we'll get a discussion underway. This is The Big Issue. You're welcome.
This November, something amazing is coming to Accra. Are you a farmer with fresh produce? Are you into fish farming, poultry, or livestock? Then get ready for the November edition of the AgriFair 2025. Yes, AgriFair 2025. It's happening on Friday the 28th to Sunday the 30th of November. It's happening at the A4 Southern Children's Park, and it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. It's the ultimate weekend marketplace. From fruits and vegetables to poultry, livestock and fish to agri-inputs and processing machinery, all at unbeatable farm gate prices. Whether you're selling or buying, this is your chance to connect, trade and grow. Enjoy the freshest farm produce, sizzling kebabs, and a vibrant marketplace atmosphere all in one space. Register now and secure your spot. Call 0558-973-973 for more information. AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation. AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Horticulture Business Platform, Development Bank Ghana, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, Gressel, and the Ghana Exim Bank. In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensah.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensah.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
Hi, you're welcome back. This is The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM. My name is Selorm Adonoo. Two key issues we are looking at this morning. The Finance Minister read the government's fiscal plan for the year 2026. A few things were said in that budget. Reform of the VAT regime happening there, the macroeconomic indicators or targets set. Inflation, for example, they're targeting 8% plus or minus 2%. And a few other things that were in there. There's been some allocation for a lot of the manifesto promises of the party that birthed the government, the women's development, the women's bank, for example, and a few other things. Galamsey, NIMOS has some 150 million cedis for its operations and a number of other things. The question is, how does this budget translate to growth, jobs, and economic transformation? Indeed, the subtitle of the budget is Resetting for Growth, Jobs, and Economic Transformation. How do we ensure that the policy translates into these things? How many jobs really can this budget produce? Jobs are the center of the needs of Ghanaians. Indeed, in the next discussion, we'll see how people's search for jobs driven thousands of people to want to join the military, out of which 6 people lost their lives and many more were injured. We'll get into that discussion and we'll see what we can do differently in future recruitment exercises. Couldn't the military have anticipated this? Couldn't they have done anything apart from what we saw that led to the death of the people? And did they have to make over 20,000 people congregate at a point at the Elwak Stadium for the purposes of recruitment? That we see just about 4,000 people nationwide recruited into the military. We will look at all of these matters this morning, but let me provide you some updates. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Kisela Tuforsin has presented the government's fiscal plan for the year ahead. This year's budget comes at a critical moment for Ghana's economy. After years of fiscal tightening under the IMF program, the country is beginning to see improvements in key macroeconomic indicators. Inflation has been trending downward. The cedi has shown signs of appreciation against major international currencies, and growth prospects are looking more stable. Here's Finance Minister presenting the budget, noting that Ghana's total public debt has declined from 726.7 billion or 61.8% of GDP in 2024 to 630.2 billion, representing some 45% of GDP as of October 2025.
Mr. Speaker, by October 2025, total debt had fallen from 726.7 billion Ghana cedis, or 61.8% of GDP in 2024, to 630.2 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent of 45% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, marking one of the sharpest decline in our history. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in over a decade, we have recorded a negative rate of debt accumulation from a positive 19.1% in 2024 to a negative 13.3% in 2025. Mr. Speaker, this turnaround reflects fiscal discipline, prudent borrowing, and stronger cedi, showing that Ghana's reforms are being measured, Mr. Speaker, and they are showing results. At home, domestic debt market has rebounded. Treasury bill have dropped by 1,600 basis points, with the 91-day Treasury bill at 10.7 from 28.9, the lowest in 14 years. Mr. Speaker, government has paid 20.3 billion Ghana cedis in bonds coupons, restoring trust and market liquidity. Mr. Speaker, Eurobond prices are up by 17%, yield down by 300 basis points, and investor confidence is back. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has entered a new era of debt sustainability, anchored on discipline, transparency, and fiscal sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, I'll give an update on sovereign credit ratings. Right Honorable Speaker, all 3 major international rating agencies have upgraded Ghana's, affirming new faith in our macroeconomic management. In June 2025, Fitch lifted Ghana from restricted default to B-. Again, Moody's in October upgraded Ghana to CAA1. And Mr. Speaker, in November, a couple of weeks ago, S&P also upgraded Ghana to B-/B. Mr. Speaker, together, these upgrades marks a global vote of confidence. Ghana is once again credible, stable, and open for business. Mr. Speaker, I take you to monetary and financial sector performance. Right Honorable Speaker, monetary policy in 2025 stayed tight but effective, thanks to prudent management by the central bank and the governor. The Speaker, the Bank of Ghana cut broad money growth to 16.6% and base money to 4.5%, sterilizing 55 billion Ghana cedis to stabilize the cedi and lock in the lowest inflation in 4 years. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana's external sector remained strong in 2025. The current account surplus rose to 3.2% of GDP from 2%, driven by robust gold and cocoa export, higher remittance, and strict import management. Mr. Speaker, a $2.1 billion United States dollar trade surplus and growth in non-traditional exports showed a more diversified economy. The Ghana cedi appreciated against the US dollar from 16.35 Ghana cedi to the US dollar in November 2024 to 10 cedi 92 pesos as at 10th November 2025. The Speaker, this represents a rare appreciation of 35%, reflecting sound fiscal and monetary policy management. Right Honorable Speaker, this stability lowered debt costs and eased inflation. Gold and cocoa powered the recovery. Gold earnings rose 68% to 11.2 billion United States dollars. Speaker, cocoa rose 170% to 2.47 billion United States dollars, whilst oil dipped to 1.83 billion. Right Honorable Speaker, Ghana's rising export firms reserves, and a stable cedi confirms one thing, that Ghana's recovery is real, disciplined, and indeed lasting.
All right, so that was the Finance Minister delivering the government's fiscal policy for the year 2026 in Parliament. It didn't end there. The minority in Parliament had their say as well later. Now, they have predicted low sales for traders ahead of the Christmas festivities, despite the recent announcement of single-digit inflation. The caucus asserts that lower inflation rate has not translated into improved economic conditions for the public. They argue that the Bank of Ghana's withdrawal of 60 billion cedis from the local market as part of efforts to control inflation has instead tightened liquidity and weakened purchasing power. Addressing journalists, the ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, claimed the NDC government has failed to prioritize the needs of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Another budget used to apportion blame to the MPP government, the previous MPP government, and thus neglect the responsibility of the NDC government to the people of Ghana. Gradually, the people of Ghana will come to terms with this government's mastery of propagating empty slogans and yet delivering nothing. We urge Ghanaians to seriously manage expectations as we are in for another year of inactivity and disappointment. Allocations for capital expenditure and goods and services remain unreleased, and workers across the public sector are paid but not given the necessary tools and inputs to work. This is what we call fiscal indiscipline, that you pay workers and yet you don't release goods and services to give them the tools and the inputs to work with. And let me use this opportunity to caution that the Harmattan season has just started in some parts of the country. And we don't want to hear stories later that the chicks have been killed by the Harmattan. Timing is of utmost importance when you are implementing a program. 60 billion Ghana cedis, the Bank of Ghana withdrew from the market just to control inflation. This obviously comes at a cost, whilst the withdrawal of liquidity dried up the pockets of Ghanaians. Farmers across the nation, from Techiman to Tamale, Ho, and many other parts of Ghana, if I don't call your town, forgive me, These farmers cannot sell their produce as demand has evaporated. Let me remind traders across the country that this coming Christmas, if you don't sell to your expectation, know that it is because the NDC government has withdrawn 60 billion Ghana cedis from the market just to achieve a single-digit inflation and impoverish.
All right, so that was the minority spokesperson on the economy, or the ranking member on finance, yes, ranking member on the finance committee, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, also former finance minister, stating the minority's views on the economy. Mind you, finance minister Atufo Singh presented a budget, and as it is almost customary, the minority will always have their say. So that was what is happening there. My guest for this morning, I have Dr. Theo Champon, who is a technical advisor for the Ministry of Finance, Toma Mihe, financial analyst, Richard Ahiangba, communications director for the MPP, Fred Agbanyu, member of parliament for the Guan constituency, Franklin Kujo, president Imani Africa, and Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, who is head of finance at Mebank Capital. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. I'll start off with you, Dr. Theo Champon. Good to have you in the studio as always. Talk to me about what the finance ministry or the government set out to do in this 2026 budget.
Okay, so good morning, and very much a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure, really, to sit here and then share ideas in relation to how we build the economy. To sort of put things pretty much straightforward, you recognize that we have come from a particular place, a place where the severe challenges that we had with the economy, particularly over the 2023-22 period, and then coming into 24, had to be fundamentally addressed. And what the budget has sought to do is really anchor and drive some of the reforms that have been started, and then also use that for enhanced productivity. So if you look at the statement that the Right Honourable Minister made in the House in paragraph 28 of the big budget itself, if you don't mind me quoting, it says that, Mr. Speaker, over the next year and beyond, government will focus on 3 strategic priorities for growth, for jobs, and for transformation. So he lists them up. The first one being consolidating macroeconomic stability, and I'll talk to that in a moment. The second one being accelerating economic transformation and job creation, and then again, I'll talk to that in a moment. And then the third one being strengthening security and the social sectors for inclusive growth. So really sort of to do a justice to the budget and then the intent behind it, I would want to look at it from these 3 broad strategic priorities that the government has said. How you consolidate growth, how you consolidate the macro stability that we're seeing, how you accelerate economic transformation, or I would probably put it structural transformation, and then also as a result create jobs, and then number 3, how you ensure that in the process of the growth, you don't leave people behind. And that is actually extremely important, because in many jurisdictions, and Ghana is not an exception, we would keep talking about these big macro numbers. GDP is this, inflation is this, and all of that. But when you go down to the micro level, you still have deep issues of poverty and inequality. And you don't need to go far from our studios here. Just walk 50 meters out and you see people struggling on the street. So the growth is only useful if it is carrying people along, and importantly, if you're strengthening your social sectors, health, education, and social protection. And this is really where the budget tries to provide some answers to these 3 big kind of strategic priorities. So let me start off with the first one on how you consolidate macro economic stability. And I'd actually put, some statement and some analysis out there earlier in the week that in my view, this budget is a credible budget. And when we say a credible budget, what do I mean? So if you look at what the World Bank puts out, and then even what an organization called the International Budget Partnership puts out, again, let me read. A credible budget, or what does budget credibility mean? It means that it is defined as the government's ability to meet its revenue and expenditure targets during the fiscal year. A credibly implemented budget has only small deviations from the approved, both in terms of overall expenditure and revenues, and then also in terms of allocation. So two things there. We want to see you implementing what you say you want to do on the revenue and expenditure front, but also importantly when it comes to budget execution, the allocation bit, making sure that monies are going to the right sectors to support those strategic priorities that you say you're going to do, that, you know, tends to or would happen. So again, let's look at where the numbers are, right? On the first theme that I mentioned on the macroeconomic stability. So if you go back to the 2025 budget and the targets that the government said that they would achieve, the target was for an overall real GDP growth of at least 4%. As we speak now, the latest numbers are indicating in excess of 6% of real GDP growth. And again, remember that in the last 5 to 6 years, we had struggled to even cross the 4% threshold. So you can look at the data from the Ghana Statistical Service. Pre-pandemic, we would have been doing on average around 6 to 7%. And I had done some analysis that shows that for Ghana to become an upper middle income economy, right? In other words, to be doing per capita GDP in excess of about $4,000, right, dollars, your economy is going to grow consistently at 7% year on year without any deviation, right? And because of the pandemic, Russia, Ukraine, and all the other things that we've had, that growth prospects, and then also, of course, the fiscal mismanagement and the issues that we saw, the growth prospects has been dampened. So this is really the first time that you're seeing that trend that used to be pre-pandemic beginning to go up. And then in the specific interventions that the 2026 budget wants to address, you're going to see that anchor and drive the growth even better and beyond. And we can debate that going forward. Again, one of the targets that we had was that the end year inflation was going to be 11.9%. So the Bank of Ghana has a target of 6 to 10%, right? And even me, if you asked me 2 years ago, were we going to have inflation now in excess, in around the single digits mark, I would have told you, frankly, no. And I'm sure many market analysts would have told you that that was going to be quite difficult to achieve. But we actually have had a process of continued disinflation to the point that we're now around the 9%, and some of the forecasts that I have seen indicates that you probably may even end the year around the 7 to kind of 8% mark. So that is bang within the target that the central bank has set to allow you to effectively conduct monetary policy under the inflation targeting framework, right, that they are implementing. Again, let me mention two other indicators.
Let me deal with the issue about inflation first. You continue to do the other ones. But at what cost? Amin Adam, former finance minister, addressed the press, and he says that government is taking out about 60 billion from the market, you know, by way of liquidity mop-up. So there's tightening. I mean, there's no money in the system. People are struggling, and you say inflation is single digit. What's at what cost? How does the average person benefit from all of that?
Oh, the average person is benefiting from the prices at the pumps. So a few months ago when I came in town, I was buying petrol, filling my tank for around 800 cedis. So this is a 1.6 liter Toyota Corolla, right? Now I can fill that tank for 550 cedis thereabouts. So you can see the benefit. Prices of foods on the market, not just in terms of the inflation data that the Statistical Service collects, you
But
also
the
see.
price, yes. So the
But-
fuel bit, yes.
Yes.
But the prices of goods on the market,
Yes.
you know, those prices have
So-
not seen the
No,
corresponding.
prices have come down. So
Really?
when we say, let me explain. So when we say inflation, we're not saying that
The price will
is
reduce.
not coming to come
The
down.
rate of increase.
It's the relative rate of increase, right? In other words, if you were doing 20% inflation last year, your price increment would have been an additional, for argument's sake, if it was 100, it's now what, 120, right? Now, if it's around your 9%, in other words, it's what, 109, right? So between 120 and 109, the relative savings that you're having, right, is coming to what, around 11 or so Ghana cedis. So again, for public education purposes, it is not to say that prices are not increasing, but
they're
rather
increasing,
the relative rate is coming down. Okay. And actually, interestingly, I've got a data point that one of my colleagues actually put up, a guy called Fred Aprea, a few days ago, where if you look at households in terms of purchasing power parity, right? You could do the data and you can track the data 20 years back. And in fact, 2025 is on record going to be one of the biggest years where we've had households lose the least purchasing power parity. And this is data from the Ghana Statistical Service, right? In other words, the relative money that you have in your pocket, you're able to stretch it a little bit better this year than you would have had last year, and even in other years, you know, preceding. And this is consistent with what you're seeing at the macro level and then what you're seeing also at the micro level. So
Great.
what the central bank does as part of their remit is price stability. You can go and look at the Central Bank Act. What had been the issue in the past had been that, okay, some of the conduct and the things they do in relation to what you call the open market operations, and Toma can explain even this more, that it was not too visible. As part of the IMF program and then all the other recommendations that have come, the central bank now is actually communicating that clearly to the market. So there's an expectation gap that is being met in terms of what they're going to be putting out to the market in terms of the forex intervention or supply on a weekly and then also on a monthly or so, right, basis. So the key thing I think for me is whatever the central bank is doing, one, are we still maintaining the targets that we have, one, in terms of inflation, but importantly, also on the reserve position, right? So we have or had a target of reserves under this, the IMF program of at least 3 months or so of import cover. As we speak, it's in excess of 4 months. So it's really, there are trade-offs, as we say in economics. You have to make some decisions. But the bottom line is that what you're seeing now from these macro indicators, whether it is growth or inflation or any of the other things, it's not just sitting at the macro level. You can feel it within the pockets of ordinary Ghanaians.
Great.
So that's basically the first bit that I mentioned on the macro transformation as part of the first.
The consolidating macroeconomic stability.
Yes, and then there's two other bits which relates to.
So we'll deal with the issue of jobs and the two other ones a bit later. Let me just go around. Toma, good to see you after a long while. This budget termed or labeled for growth, jobs and economic transformation, does it really give you any hope that indeed we'll see the growth, we'll see it deliver the jobs and economic transformation we've been yearning for?
It gives me hope. And not because of the growth, for say, look, just like the 2025 project, I believe this government is focusing first on stability before growth. Now, I'm saying it as a positive, because I believe that's what the government should do. All right? Look, we've had 1 year of astounding return to stability, which nobody expected. As Doc was saying just now, if you had asked me, even in March, whether inflation could go single digit this year, and I said it's a lie. All the budget analysis I did for various publications for 2025 budget, I said the 11.9% target cannot be met. And it has been exceeded. Now, I think that's a good thing, but I still think it's rather fragile. And I'm sure most people operating in the economy would agree with me that it's still fragile. I think that for 2026, government should focus on stabilizing the stability, so to say, making the stability a permanent thing. Then, for the next 2 years, use it as a foundation for growth. I remember there was there was a monetary policy committee meeting under at the Bank of Ghana under Dr. Addison, where he said that the efforts, the Bank of Ghana's efforts to sustain stability can indirectly be seen as an effort to achieve growth, because you cannot achieve sustainable growth without stability. And I totally agree. I totally agree.
So for you, the 2025 and this 2026 budgets have been primarily fashioned out to ensure stability.
Yes, with some diplomatic efforts to talk about the growth coming out of it. As Doc has clearly pointed out, growth has accelerated. And that is the result of stability. When you have stability, you don't need to force the growth. Growth will come on its own. But if you don't focus on stability,
what do you mean by growth has accelerated? In 2024, I think that the figures suggest that we saw a higher growth than we are seeing in 2025, right? The growth was in excess of 5%. But here, the third quarter figures we are having is around 4.8. So if...
No. So Q1 to Q3.
Yes.
It's 6.3.
6.3, okay.
Yes, and most likely to end the year in excess of 6.
Okay, that's fine. So, but the target for next year is 4.8. Yes. But why do you set such a low target? Do you set the target so that...
Historically, if you look at all our budgets, the growth targets have always been conservative. Again, you want to, you will say what, under promise and potentially, right? Because again, it's not just a question of what we say or what you do. It's also how the markets also react to it. And if you remember very well, like in the UK, at one point, Liz Truss set her budget, and some of the numbers didn't add up, and the markets moved against her. Within 45 days, she was out of power. So, I mean, our growth forecasts, some of those forecasts have always been on the conservative side, and that's a prudent thing to do.
Great. Richard, good to have you once again. The issue really has been to stabilize the economy. I mean, we've had very torrid times post-2020, inflation skyrocketing to 54%, etc. And now here we are, inflation in single digits, growth, steadily going up. The indicators are looking very good. What's your general view on this budget and the promise that it will deliver the needed stability, the jobs, and economic transformation?
Well, thank you, Selorm, and good morning to my colleagues here around the table. And Doc, for being in Ghana. Hitherto, we'll be seeing you on the walls, and today you're here. It's good to see you. So this budget, there's a lot being said about it. Very hopeful, people are saying. But I want us to contextualize all the verve around this budget and saying where we are as an economy going forward. It's a process. And the process, where we have gotten to in the process of managing our economy, started from a place. And we need not to cut short and appear to behave as though all of these things just started with some ingenious policies by the NDC Finance Minister, Atufos. They are building on a foundation they inherited. If that foundation were not good, there won't be anywhere near here.
Which in essence means that we are in a better place because we've built on some foundation.
A better way to reiterate what you've said is to say that it's a relay. And the one that handed the baton to them had recovered from a deficit, from a difficulty brought on by COVID-19, Russia-Ukraine war. Managing out of that has covered ground enough for you to be able to cross the line. Now you're in motion heading towards that. We haven't crossed the line, and of course we'll never cross the line because it's a business, it's work in progress. And so we handed them a baton after we have recovered sufficient grounds. They are maintaining that momentum. If you want to see how well they are doing, you have to see where they started from. And that acknowledgement must be offered. And in doing so, I want to say that the finance minister has been very disingenuous. He opens his budget by saying the inherited economy in distress. That is false. You inherited an economy that grew at close of day 5.7%, building on a 3.1% in 2023. Shows you.
Maybe he inherited an economy with an inflation rate of about
even that. I'll talk about
23%.
That. Yes, I'm going to talk
exchange rate of about 15 to
that's
15
okay. Okay. I'll talk about other macro. Hold on.
GDP.
You're jumping ahead of time.
No. I'm trying to explain perhaps what you meant by
but I am doing the explaining.
No, but I have to guide you.
No, I'm guided.
You don't need my guidance.
No, I don't. But because that's another macroeconomic indicator that I'll come to after the GDP.
Great.
Right? The 54.1 GDP that we had in 2022, you saw the trend there too. Inflation, sorry. In 2022, you saw the process of disinflation from December, the high, December 2024, 2022, 54.1, gradually till we left office about 23.7 or so. That shows you a recovery. That shows you a process leading to where, if the person handed the baton, maintained that momentum, okay, would be in line to cross the line. So that's what they inherited. That's what they inherited. If you look at the reserve position, I think we're looking at 11.4 billion or so. We recovered from, I think, 6.9 billion at one point to about 8.7 billion, or some put it at 9 billion when we're leaving office.
Was it 6.8?
Quick one. Yeah. But at the lowest of the low, when we got the reserves, at one point we had almost just 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
No, that's not.
It's about 2 weeks. I recall.
If you raise that,
that was at the height of the crisis.
No problem. Yes. But I'm telling you that we recovered ground from a deficit, and we have recovered from there and had given you a baton. So you have advantage. Okay, when they came in, and so the reserve position was building when they came in. So you cannot today just say that they came and then, by some magical policy, we are here today. No, you cannot put that narrative out there. So we have grown from a place. What they are doing, or what commendation, if any, to be given to them, is to say that they have maintained the momentum they inherited. That's plain and simple what it is.
Have they been disciplined? Because Atufosi makes a big deal of fiscal discipline. Have they been disciplined?
Absolutely. You don't have any other choice. It's not a binary, it's a one way or no way, because you have an IMF program. That stricture is put in place for you. You've got to be disciplined in that. The challenge they face is that post IMF in May, I think in May 2026, thereabout, when that program, that stricture is removed, then we're going to see the fullness of the toad. So what we are having today is a continuation of the effort started under the new Patriotic Party. Where they come in for any product is that they have been able to maintain that. And around this discipline is the IMF strictures. So nobody should mislead Ghanaians to say that they have come in and have changed this economy. It's not true. It will not be true. They can continue that narrative, but that will be deceptive... What question I have, is, and Doc, you are here, is to ask what is the commensurate impact of this in terms of poverty alleviation? So that we're not talking about numbers in vacuum where numbers mean something to us and doctor are doing analysis, but it means something in terms of people's bread and butter issue. We want to know about that so that we're just not talking about numbers. How does this suppose growth or prospect that we have enjoyed within this period impact job creation? How much job creation have we seen in this period? Perhaps they will argue that, oh, they have a 4-year mandate and 1 year is too early to want to assess anything. But that question must be asked, and it's relevant to ask that question. And in moving on from that, I think that the government in this budget puts itself up for a lot of potential slippages once after we exit, the IMF in May. There are projections, and some of the estimates I have seen, I think we'll go into that specifically, is a temptation that right after the IMF pack and go, the supervision is off, we are likely to slip back into a free fall where government then will be acquiescing to the political demands by members of the party or ministers to do what it is they want to do to win election this early. And so that for me is the fear. And if you look at a trajectory from where we'll go to IMF and then come out of IMF, this moment's always coming. And the only point where they can put themselves in a position for plaudits, where it will be an organic situation for them to inherit or to receive that plaudit, would be what structures they put in place to maintain, this sustainability or the stability that we've had, and consolidation, and the fiscal discipline that they are touting, which is not of their doing, but as an imposition by the IMF program. How they install that infrastructure to ensure that fiscal discipline is a priority.
This discipline you're saying is an imposition by the IMF structure, etc. Yes, that may be true, but they still deserve some credit for allowing themselves to be disciplined. You guys said when you took over in 2017, the IMF program had derailed. They disputed that, but you said because they were not disciplined, the program derailed. They could have done the same and derail the program a bit, renegotiate it, and get themselves back.
They tried to.
They tried to do what? To derail it?
Yeah, they tried to renegotiate. They tried to renegotiate. So.
But they didn't renegotiate.
No, but they tried to. If they the IMF didn't permit it. So if they had happened, that's what they were going to do. You heard them were saying, "Oh, we were not fiscally disciplined," all of that, even with a stricture in place. But the point I'm saying is that moving on from what the supervision has installed.
But for now, with the supervision, things appear
the challenge.
Good.
Yes,
things appear good
because of the strictures.
With the strictures,
yes,
things are good and things are better.
Exactly. Now I'm just saying that the discipline required post that
is where the issue will be.
It's where the issue.
So let me maybe just a point of information. No debate, none of that. But you may recall 2016, 17, when we started the last program
2015?
In
2015,
15, and then it went. So it was meant to end in 18, right? And then the then government, the NPP, actually negotiated an extension, as a 1-year extension of that program to 20.
IMF insisted on the 1 year.
On it. Also, largely because you see, when you also came in, if you look at the structural benchmarks, I'll pull up the data here. I've got a slide of all of these things. Many of those benchmarks at the end of 18 had not been met, right? And then even going into 19, some of us had started seeing the warning signs. They say, look, you've got to cut back a bit and do things a little bit differently, right? Of course, those warning signs were not heeded. COVID came and then it compounded the issue. So I think back to the point you're making, the discipline point, which across the table probably will agree, right, is how do you ensure that going forward, when the stick of the IMF is not around, you actually can maintain this. And I can talk to some of the points when we come around, like the Office for Value for Money, the Fiscal Council, and those.
You had a quick point before I go to.
And I respond to you.
Sure.
So Esther, I agree with Richard about the dangers of
Post-COVID,
going back
post IMF.
Yes. And he should know because it affected his government very, very seriously. Hey, look, when the AgriFair government came to power, immediately they tried to cut the fiscal deficit, which was a good thing. In the 2017 budget, they brought the deficit down. 2018, they brought it down. Now in 2019, the first year in which the IMF did not have a major say in the structure of the budget, because remember that IMF program was ending in March, just 3 years into the new year. So the IMF didn't really have a say in the government, in the budget. The fiscal deficit target increased significantly. The budget for 2020, another significant increase in the fiscal deficit target. I was expecting it because that government, the Adonoo government, had come saying that they were going to rely on expansionary economics to create jobs, which in theory is reasonable. But in practice, we saw that there were certain problems, right? But the fact that we expected that there would be some level of expansionary economics, but that's what happened. The fiscal deficit kept expanding. Now the IMF had left and removed their hands. And the problem was right there long before COVID or the Russia-Ukraine war. You could see where we were going with the expansion of the deficit year after year, right? So I can see where Richard is saying. What he's saying basically is that this is what affected his government when they were in power.
So this guy
when the IMF left, and these guys could easily fall into the same trap.
When you say your house is burning, right?
This is when your beard is burning, when your colleague's beard is burning. Right, but let me speak
I think that this government has learned what happened to the previous government.
Let me speak to head of Meban Capital, Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji, who joins us on Zoom. Nelson, good morning. Welcome to the program. A lot has been said about the early years or stages of government. Of course, in 2017 to 2018, 2019-ish, we saw very good numbers posted by the previous government. We're beginning to see the same thing. Is it that, things actually work out that way, and when the IMF, which was there at the time, leaves, then things, get out of hand, and so there should be something specifically we should be doing to maintain that momentum, or what exactly should we be doing?
All right, thank you very much, Selorm, and good morning for having me, and good morning to the other guests on the show. Before I answer that question, let me say that no matter how you look at it, I am a market watcher. No matter the lens from which you look at it, whether from a yellow lens, the green lens, or the blue lens, you can only draw one conclusion, that the economy has been doing very well since the beginning of the year. Now, when you look at all the macroeconomic and the fiscal economic indicators that we've been discussing since the beginning of the program, we all have one conclusion, that we have significantly improved in terms of the indicators. If you look at inflation, it was at 23.8%, now at single digits. If you look at the cedi, the dollar was trading around 14.70 Ghana cedis, now is around 10.7, 10.9 Ghana cedis. Our credit rating at the beginning of the year, I think it was at a restricted default, but currently we are at B-. Our debt to GDP ratio also reduced significantly from 61% of GDP to about 45%. Lending rate has also reduced, now hovering around 24%. If you go to the Ghana Stock Exchange, which is a leading economic indicator, both the financial stock index and the composite index are actually performing very well as compared to what we witnessed in the past. When you go to the pump, I've always been saying that when you want to check the temperature of an economy, just go to the filling station. When you go to the pump, you will get to know that prices have reduced significantly and a bit stable. So clearly, from whichever lens you are looking at it, you can only draw one conclusion, that this administration, they have performed very well, and we need to give credit to the finance minister and the president. Now, going back to your question, this has been the school of thoughts of many people, that when new administration come on board, they begins to do well for the first year, second year, third year. When they are getting closer to election period, that is where the mismanagement set in. For the past years, anytime a new government is exiting power, they exit when the headmaster, the IMF, is with us. And the new government will take over from the old government and continue with the IMF program. And to some extent, some of the government, they do extend it. But as soon as the IMF leaves the country, that is where the mismanagement set in. So that has been the cycle. However, this time around, we have seen some level of fiscal prudence. And don't forget, all the gains that we have made for the past 10 months has largely been due to fiscal prudence on the part of the finance minister. And also, if you recall, when he was presenting the budget, one word, kept on being repeated: fiscal prudence, fiscal consolidation, fiscal prudence, which means that the finance minister has his eye on something, to the extent that they are even establishing the value for money office, who will be responsible for actually auditing the expenditure of government. Is a clear indication that we may not get there again. But that having said that, don't forget that the problem always arises when we are in an electioneering year. But we are just having the hope and belief that with the establishment of the value for money office, and with the kind of prudent fiscal consolidation measures that the finance minister is putting in place, we may not be able to go back to that circle where you come in, you enjoy some level of stability, and then when we are exiting, then you turn things in a different direction.
I see. Great one. Let me go to the MP around the table, Fred Agbanyu, Member of Parliament on the ticket of the NDC for the Guan constituency. Yes, it does appear that the government is doing quite well, but the refrain we keep hearing is that people say they have no money in their pockets, things are tight. So when are we going to start seeing things ease so people can begin to be happy? The former finance minister says the policies, the monetary policies of this administration have taken quite some huge amount of money from the market by way of liquidity mop-up. When are we going to start people feeling the stability, the growth, and everything in their pockets?
Well, Selorm, thank you very much. Let me say good morning to our channel viewers and my colleagues around the table. Ordinarily, I shouldn't even be saying anything now. If you permit Richard and myself, we can keep quiet. And then you can allow the neutrals and the experts to speak to the economy and the budget. Because listening to Richard, it appears even Jesus Christ himself came from heaven to tell him that, oh, we have turned the corner indeed, and things are looking better. Richard did not accept that.
Have we not turned the corner? Because turning the corner became a big matter 2-3 years ago.
The one we turned was a fluke. We have now properly turned the corner. There's a real corner we have turned. And everybody can testify to that, and indeed something good is happening to our economy. Government policy is simply what the government used to do or not to do. All the things that is pontificating and talking about that, they are the reasons for why we are seeing these groups. What prevented you from doing same when you had opportunity?
But I think the point he made was that, I mean, it was a relay, and they had started a race. There was a momentum, and they handed to you the baton at a point, and you only continued. He used the inflation rate, for example, as to make his point, 54%. At the time they were leaving, it had come down to 23, and you also further continued it to the 8% we are seeing today. So it's momentum, and he gave credit to you for continuing that momentum.
You see, Selorm, I don't think Ghanaians are interested in listening to this narrative at this point.
But
you don't create a mess.
Right,
you don't create a mess. All the challenges that we inherited under the administration, or that we saw under the administration, for which they blame the Russia, Ukraine, they blame COVID, were things that they brought on themselves. They created all those mess. And sometimes when you listen to them talk,
recently, was it President Mahama who was speaking at the UN program? And he made a point that the economy was doing well until COVID hit and until Russia-Ukraine came. So, and the point the opposition made was that in Ghana, you deny the existence of the difficulties caused by COVID,
Selorm.
but externally you accept it.
Go and check from 2015 up to 2016. All the forecasts that was made about Ghana's economy as a result of the huge investment we have done, especially in the energy sector. Everybody projected that Ghana's economy was going to do well. We're going to see growth from 2017 to 2018. Those were the days we made the argument that when the MP came into office, if they had folded their arms and allowed the economy to run, we still would have experienced some growth and some stability. They came in and they started borrowing as though there's no tomorrow. Any money they threw at them, they grab it. And we kept on warning them. And the sad thing at the time, we didn't even see where those money they were borrowing were going to. They didn't do anything in the area of road infrastructure. Education infrastructure remain absolutely the same.
They said they built the most roads in the history.
It is not about what people say. It's about
no,
what
they have
you
data,
and
they have
I.
data to back that. They've built the most roads in 8 years.
Selorm, can we leave the textbooks and the papers behind and move on the roads? Your cameras are here. If indeed they build the roads, let's travel from Accra all the way to Paga. Let's travel from here to Aplau. Let's travel from here to the end of Western region.
No, but why should this be a point we contest? I mean, if the roads have been built, the roads have been built.
That's
and
the
paid
point I'm
for.
making.
I mean, the roads have been built. So we know it.
I don't know. I know you don't travel a lot. But because of the Western of us, including Richard himself, we travel every now and then. We travel across the left.
And the roads are not there.
Where are they? Where are the roads? My hometown, from here to where ordinarily should take you 2.5 hours. These days, you spend close to 5 hours on the road.
Let's go ahead.
On the national television.
Let's go ahead.
So the point I'm making is that we haven't got to where we want to get to. We cannot say Ghana has become a UK and America, and then we have arrived, and then we can start smiling and laughing and lose our guard. We are on an agenda to reset this country. Ghanaians believe that they couldn't manage the economy. They took inflation at 15.something%. But their own designs and arrangements and the rest, they took to over 50-something%. By the time they were exiting the office, it was around 23%.
But they also took inflation to 7.8%.
You see, it is not enough to take inflation there. To sustain it.
At the
to
time
make
they
it
took
predictable.
it, the thinking was that they were going to sustain it. Like
I thought you were going to allow me to also speak a little
apologies,
bit.
but
every second you come in.
Before it comes in, just again, I like to put information out just for context, right? So you recall the IMF program we entered into May 2023. There was a big report that they issued, and in the report they said that Russia, Ukraine, COVID was not really the issue. The issue was, let me quote it, there were pre-existing right, fiscal vulnerabilities. Right? In other words, you know, the COVID, they said those that had hypertension and all of those things were the ones most likely to be affected. So we had a problem. We were not dealing with it. What the pandemic and Russia Ukraine did was to expose the deep structural issues that we had been, peppering over. And I think that's important to put things into the right context.
So, Selorm, every fair-minded Ghanaian would agree to this conclusion that the IMF came to. That prior to the COVID, and again, Russia and Ukraine, this government or the government then has so badly mismanaged the economy, they will not listen to anybody. They were just on a borrowing spree. They were not putting the money into productive sector to the economy. The monies were ending up in people's private pockets. And we kept on screaming and shouting. Look at COVID. We got in excess of 35 billion from COVID. Money we didn't plan for, money we didn't budget it for. People came, give to us free. IMF gave us money. World Bank gave about 2 billion. Corporate Ghana. We got so much money.
We also did a lot of things. We also paid workers who were not working.
You see, when you say these things, look at the quantum of money we got. The president himself came to Parliament in the State of the Nation address. He said we spent about 19 billion Ghana cedis on COVID. The finance minister said we spent about 17 billion Ghana cedis. Let's even that we spent 20 billion Ghana cedis. You are in excess of 35 billion Ghana cedis. If you knock it out, you should have surplus money. You were in this country when their own party executive told us how those monies were shared among them, the party leadership. You didn't hear that one too? Am I the one telling you?
No.
Right from the head, they share the money among themselves, they chop it, to put it bluntly. Now, Russia, Ukraine, have they stopped fighting today? Has the war ended?
Now we've adjusted our ways.
So you cannot blame these two for the mess we saw. I'm sure you are following the Auditor General's reports and the revelations that are coming out from almost every institution, every sector, as to how the resources of this country were managed. When I hear the argument that we are not spending money, Selorm, for the first time in Ghana's history, common fund allocation to these assemblies, this government took a very bold decision and said that whatever money is allocated, 80% of that money must go to the assembly. There's no single assembly in Ghana today that you go into the account, the list that you don't see more than 5 million Ghana cedis sitting in the account, so that they can use it for local development. Let the people themselves determine the things that they want to do. Either two people sit in Accra and impose projects, impose markets, impose a school, impose whatever it is on the people. Now we want the people themselves to lead their own development. And since we took office, we have since paid the first quarter, we have paid the second quarter, the third quarter has just been paid. We have been very, very consistent. And all this money goes into infrastructure development. If you are putting up a school building, the carpenter will get some work to do, the mason will get some work to do, the plumber will get some work to do, the young girl who comes to sell banana by the project site, people will buy her banana, people will buy her water, people will buy her beans. And so the money eventually will circulate in the local economy. How then do you say we are not spending? Since we came into office, all the people who are depending on consolidated funds for their salaries and whatever it is, we have paid all of them consistently, with the exception of the nurses that they recklessly engage in the tail end of their governance, that they didn't plan for, they didn't get financial clearance. Those are the only people that we are trying to rationalize and get them involved. Today as we speak, go and check the money that we have allocated. 30 billion Ghana cedis is going to the Big Push project. You, Selorm, you have traveled across the world, and you notice that one thing that opens up countries is road infrastructure. If you get road infrastructure well, i.e. the railway line is working, the roads are good, water transportation is good, Selorm, you and I will not come and struggle to look for a room to rent in Accra. It should be possible for you to stay in Denu, wake up in the morning and come to work in Accra, and go back to Denu in the evening. Because in America, the people say in one state and work in another state because the system is good. And that is exactly what the president is trying to do. That for the first time, we are going to have an express dual carriage road from Accra all the way to Kumasi. Selorm, do you know what it means to build a bridge over River Oti? When we build a bridge over River Oti, now all the full staff from that enclave, Krache, Nchumuru, Bimbila, and the rest, just all the way all through to Accra, traffic can move in and out anytime. The current situation is that if you get to Dambai, maybe by 5 p.m., you have to find a place to sleep. You can't, the ferry is not working. Sometimes the ferry can break down, people will bring their staff, and they will be stuck by the bank for several days. We are trying to promote even water transportation, because the argument is that most of these vehicles are even destroying our roads. And so it should be possible now that when you bring the food staff to the river bank, you channel it through, the barges, it exits at Mpakada area. Then the train now conveys it towards Accra, Ashama, and the rest, where we will break the bulk and then we take to our homes and go and sell. Now, if you check, vehicles that move to the landlocked countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and the rest, if they have to drive from Tema through Kumasi, Techima, Kitampo to Tamale and beyond, if you choose to develop the Eastern Corridor Road, you will save close to 5 hours of traveling time. You understand? And so these are the things this government is planning to do. That let's develop our road infrastructure through the Big Push, dedicated amount of money, 30 billion for next year alone. The Ministry of Road and Highway, they've done all the designs, they've selected the contractors, and very soon Ghanaians will see that all of our roads, some work will start on it. The only thing I'm praying for, over the years, we have spent so much money on road infrastructure. but supervision, the kind of work that is done. We put so much money in, they construct a road after a year or two, you get back, it has become something else. My prayer this time around is that the roads we are building should be roads that can last for 15 years, 20 years. And we get those who be doing the patchy and fixing it as and when it breaks down, online working every day. Now, when it comes to the agriculture sector, we are not going to the issue.
Let me come
let me just conclude then. Well, to sum it up, Honorable Atufo said, Bank of Ghana, His Excellency the President, Ghanaians.
They are all forcing.
Who gave you the money?
They are all forcing. That's the
Ghanaians who give you the support believe that you are forcing.
Correct.
But don't slumber. Yes. Don't be carried away. Remain focused.
Very well.
That is what the Ghanaians are asking for.
Yeah, so Doc, I mean, we've all talked about prudence, etc., and the need to remain disciplined.
I wanted to respond to a point he made.
To prosper.
About the IMF matter.
Okay, so quickly,
that
because
his intervention is trying to make. So you see, we have to be very careful. Sometimes we just clap ourselves up and down here that he's done this, he's done that. Our economy itself is a pre-existing condition. They were talking about IMF giving a verdict that, oh, there were pre-existing conditions that aggravated when COVID and all of those came. The economy itself was pre-existing condition. So, were we not here, we couldn't manufacture a nose mask. Basic things that we could be doing even before COVID came. But COVID came, we found the capacity to be able to break through. So the economy, as is it's
I'm struggling. I'm struggling, honestly.
What? No. Allow me. Let me just make the point.
And then Franklin could
you can struggle because I'm not talking to you, but I'm trying to explain your misinformation. The point here is this.
Oh, he's trying to misinform.
Yes. The point here is that when you look at IMF intervention or supervision of our economy, it always gets to this point, historically. I think by now we've gone there by 18 times already. Okay? It's an issue we must confront. So this thing about clapping, forcing, and this person forcing and all of that, it's a fallacy that we have to break out from. I've asked a question you haven't answered, Selorm. The thing is that the fundamental pass-through of all of this, in terms of human improvement, in terms of condition improvement for people, poverty alleviation, where is that? We haven't seen that. So I'm saying, when you say that IMF said, oh, there were pre-existing conditions, when the NDC was in power and they had to go to IMF in 2015, were there not pre-existing conditions? Yeah. Were there not matters that led to that?
No, but I think it's about the degree. But before that, just note that down. Let me note that down. Let me deal with Franklin.
No. So the point I'm making, I'm just concluding.
But it was just a quick point
so
I wanted to make. So just note that when I come out from Franklin, I go there around you. You have a point. You have a time. Franklin, welcome to the program. Yes, I know you listened to the budget and all of that. But the discussion also has been that the NDC took it from a point when economic conditions or indicators were improving. And Richard makes that point. He calls it a relay. How much of what we are seeing today can we attribute to the last regime's policies?
Well, good morning, my good friends. Let me just say that, look, this conversations about attributions to praise and should I call it equal share in the joy, it's all right. But you see, it's also important to make the point that, look, even if conditions were good or they were on the ascendancy to becoming better, and then the person who took over shepherded it, actually did nothing, did not damage the process, but actually shepherded it to a point where we are seeing some interesting results. I think that one is actually the change effect. And I think no one should ignore that. Look, when the last administration took over from the 2016, that's true. I mean, what did the NPP do at the time to actually get all those growth? It was all the investments John had made in the energy sector and most of the sectors, right? And even then when they came, what did they do? For 8 years, they didn't invest in energy resources. They were rather fighting people who should be investing in the economies. So I think fundamentally, the difference here is about the shepherding process. The good shepherd is the one who took it over and is actually doing well. But Richard, the difference here, you must also realize that, look, when Ato took over, by the way, this is the fastest time we've actually ever reduced our debt. Do you realize you guys took us into the deepest hole ever Nobody thought we were going to come out of it. But this guy came within 10 months and virtually took us out quickly. In fact, this is the fastest we have ever, Dr. Tuesday, I'm sure he confirmed it. This is the fastest, right? From 65 to about what, 45%? And so please, let's attribute right. I understand that, but let's also give the good shepherd that. Having said that, by the way, I think it's also important to caution, because as you know, it's always been a cycle, right? I mean, you do well and then get into a point before you realize the third year elections are coming and then people start asking for more. What I'm beginning to see, and Ato has put his life on the line, in a way, his position on the line, by actually saying to us that, look, I am a stickler for fiscal discipline, and I'm going to do that irrespective of what everybody says. In fact, if the president has my backing, I'm going to continue to do that. And I think that is important to acknowledge. This guy came in, and look at all these arrears. I've seen one or two of the reports, and it's good that the reports will be coming out shortly. The previous administration was just sharing money like there was no tomorrow. Come for project. It's like when they see you and they like your face, Masa, Bajibi, quiet. This, my good friend, the former.
You just looked at that.
No, listen.
No, but frankly, Richard is not pleased by the way you are describing the matter.
Richard knows how I speak, and so he knows I speak frankly as my name. We're just sharing the thing. It's like come, open, but you mobilize. They give you money, you go and do something. You don't even do it well. That's what they did. Look, I went to get fund recently to have a conversation about certain projects from my alma mater. The first thing they said was, look, we'll verify, we'll evaluate, but note, there'll be no mobilization for the contractor. I thought it was a fluke until I met Ato the day or two before the budget. I had a conversation, I said, my brother, nobody is doing that again. No one is going to give you money before you start the project. When they give the money, they just run off. This Accra Kumasi road that we've been suffering. You know, I live close, but the former minister of roads just took the money. They took it in one fell swoop. It's kind of a dark country. We're buying. I don't know free on them.
Which one? Afrexim money, Afrexim bank money.
I swear, my brother. Nobody has seen the that's a, we don't even see the ghost of that money. When he was asked to explain, he said, "Oh, we shared it to other properties, to other roads." I'm going to ask you those questions. So look, we are not over rejoicing, but we're actually saying that this gentleman came and said, look, first of all, let's vet the figures. So they are going to vet the figures before they give you the money. As I understand, Agenda 111 alone, 100 million Ghana cedis was wasted on mobilization. Not a single project has been constructed. What is this? And I think it's important to also make the point that, look, even though we realize that, you know, the last administration also took us off from the IMF I think 2019, and they promised a number of things to do. Normally, when you want to get out quickly, the IMF gives you the opportunity to, how do I call it, sit and have a conversation, right? So they had a conversation and said, oh, no, listen, we want to get out of this IMF on the back of what? They are promising about 1 million barrels of oil, whatever, a day or so, thereabout, against the fact that there'll be public sector reform. My brother, we all went through this economy the last 8 years. Give me support. Sometimes about 90% of the transactions do not go through gift mix. And then you are going to do what? You are going to deepen reforms and ensure that the gains you made in 2017, 2018 were going to be protected. You did not. Before we realized you are sharing money. Look at people who are constructing dams. They were dug out, 250,000. Those dugouts could not cost even 1,000 cities in certain districts. What we did to this country was actually pillaging resources, and we should never do that again. So I understand the admonition that we should be careful, but let's also give due regard to the shepherd. And the shepherd here is saying that, look, I am going to ensure that going forward, I'll be fiscally responsible and fiscally prudent. And I think we should actually be tracking everything that they say. I am, for instance, worried that the 30 billion infrastructure push or whatever they call it, essentially a lot of it is going to go to the road sector, shepherded by the state. The state should play a minimum role. I don't see why that we should put all that money on the back of the state. I don't think so. I think we should have PPPs in place and competent PPPs. If indeed the road minister, what he tells me they've done, as in making sure that they are rationalizing and evaluating the bits and the roads before they. I think it's important we do that. But there are still issues that we need to do. This economy has a lot of. There's just too many people unemployed. Look at what happened recently. We need to focus on that.
Very well.
On the back of the sector.
Great.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yes, great. Now talking about unemployment, prudence, what factors or what do you see from the budget that will help us ensure the fiscal discipline of prudence? And how will all of these translate into growth and the jobs? So you talk to me about that and what we have in the budget that will ensure that we deliver the jobs to the people, which is of crucial importance to us.
Okay, so...
Okay.
No, you. Yes.
Let him go.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you. Okay, no. Let you deal with that. I think that's what we are looking at for this round. So
Yeah. So I think a number of the points have been made, but I'll try to tie them, all in. I mean, the thing I'm hearing is, okay, yes, we've done good, we've done well. What can we do better? And how do you cement the gains such that we don't go to the IMF the 19th or the 18th time, depending on how you count it, right? And the issue of the prudence is actually strictly important going forward. Sometimes in the past, we have paid lip service to this. And again, it's interesting when Richard was talking, I noted a few things and I was checking some of the reports from 2017, 18, 19 onwards. And consistently, especially from 19 onwards, all those, call it red signals, that was basically say, look, guys, pause. Let's reflect. What are we doing in terms of spending and all of that? A lot of attention was not paid to, just to put it bluntly, right? So if you recall, when the pandemic hit, the finance minister then came to give a statement, right? No, even before the pandemic. So in 2019 November, he read the budget. And at that point, we were expecting a deficit of around 4.7% of GDP, certainly under 5%. Then the pandemic hit. And the finance minister came to read a statement in March in Parliament. And then subsequently in June, also read a statement. So this was 6 months before the election, the mid-year, that said that, we're still going to meet our deficit targets and all those things, right? It was going to still be below 5%. Fast forward, pandemic is on, we have election 2020, and then what happens? The numbers are completely out of gear. It was actually around close to 12%, right? And some of us argued then that, look, we use the pandemic as a pretext to overspend, right? Those points about the vulnerabilities and all the things that we're mentioning around here, that is not to belabor the point, but the point I'm trying to make here is that what do you do now in terms of the controls that you have to ensure prudence? And yes, the finance ministry, the finance minister Adonoo is doing his absolute best to ensure that you're putting in place some safeguards. So within this current budget, for example, there's a lot of talk about commitment controls and a lot of talk about you cannot spend on certain projects if you don't have, for example, the authorization or the commitment that allows you to be able to do that. There's also a lot of talk internally about how we can benchmark government performance and deliver better services. So, for example, there is the Office for Value for Money proposal, and the bill is actually being worked on. So you know that we've got a PPA.
But is it about bills? Because I recall the Fiscal Responsibility Act that was to do a few things. At some point,
we even repealed it.
We just suspended it for the sake of COVID, etc.
Yes.
There was a
Fiscal
Council of a kind.
Advisory council.
Now, let me take yourself as frankly. There was a Fiscal Council of a kind, frankly, was part of. But all of these, all of these were in place.
Because they didn't have the safeguards and
the safeguards being what? As in law?
Within law to actually
but the Fiscal Responsibility Act was law.
No. So there was the law, the Fiscal Responsibility Advisory Council.
That was what Franklin was part of, right?
Yes.
And there was the act itself,
Yes,
which
the
was
act.
suspended at some point.
Yes, but if you read that act,
Forex.
let me come.
Okay, Forex.
If you read that act,
Okay.
the way it had been written, and the get-out clauses, any minister could just come and suspend.
Yeah, because
the
I mentioned
rules.
Franklin's name. I know, Franklin, I don't worry. We've answered this many times. But
Could suspend the
Yes.
rules. So if you look at the new one, the amended PFM Act, right, 20 April was amended, or May it was amended. Now there's a clear provision for what is called the Fiscal Council. And then also the two new primary anchors that we have in the conduct of fiscal policy, a primary surplus 1.5%, and then a deficit not more than 45%. But in addition
deficit no more than 45%
of GDP, the public, the public debt not more than 45, not the deficit, right? But in addition to these two anchors, you have a mechanism to actually enforce it, and importantly, clear provisions under which the minister can decide to, if you breach one, right, you've got to go through certain processes, including parliament, and even says that to course correct, within 4 months, they have to come back to parliament and provide certain remedial actions in relation to that.
All of these are to make it difficult for us to breach.
Difficult for anybody to say, this one is force majeure, is pandemic, so let's just sidestep
But how do all of these
Yes.
translate into the jobs?
Oh, I'll come to the job, don't worry. Because you have to deal with the stabilization and the macro. And then, very important point you asked, okay, what do you do on the job side? But it was important to give some of those, context. Again, on the value for money bit, in the past, we had the likes of crown agents here in Ghana. So for most big public infrastructure type projects, they would do all these value for money assessments and benchmarks and all of that. Hence why some of the roads that were done 20, 25 years ago are of a better quality than the ones that we're doing now, right? Since they left, there's been a bit of a gap, right? So again, there's a proposal here within the budget to have an office for value for money, right? Which is actually going to be doing some of these cost benchmarking assessments and making sure that there's an additional layer of checks and balances on the spending side of things tied into the fiscal prudence point that we're talking about here. And to borrow Franklin's words, the good shepherd, right? You have to ensure that you deliver. Again, there's other things when it comes to even allocating money to the district. So for a long time now, if you want to build like a 6-unit classroom block, right? Because within the PPA law, certain thresholds was, I think, 200,000 or so thereabouts. And since 2016, we've not adjusted them. The procurement processes had become very cumbersome and complicated. So a DCE cannot even award a 6-unit classroom block. It has to come all the way to entity tender and all those other levels. There's a proposal now here to actually move the threshold from the 200,000, which in real terms, in 2024 or 25 money, is actually nothing, to move that up to about 750, and then another one goes up to 3 million Ghana cedis. What this means is that at the local level, some of the decisions are now being decentralized, so that a DCE now can award a contract for certain things and ensure, and it says that, look, you have to use local contractors. You have to use, to the point you are making, people within the enclave can provide those services, and it does create, right, the jobs. But importantly, you also ensure that you have the safeguards, the building standards, the mixing of cement and sand and all those things that ensures that you deliver, right, a better project. Because the point is that, and what this week has shown us from LWAC, is that the growth that we have been talking about over the last 30 plus years, right, has not translated into the level of jobs that we want. Ordinarily, why should you have 20,000 people queuing up, right, to look for how many, a few thousand jobs in the army?
And that's just in Greater Accra.
That's just in Accra, right?
Across the country.
So we need to do a lot more on the jobs and even on the inequality. Because again, you look at the data. I like to look at the data. From 1992 or 93, we were able to halve poverty levels down to from 55 or so percent, all the way down to 28% as of 2008, 2010, thereabouts, right? So that reflected the effort that we pushed in. The economy was growing, but it was creating jobs, but importantly, reducing poverty levels.
Great.
If you look at the data now, the poverty indicators and the inequality indicators, if we don't do anything about it, there's a World Bank report on this, in 2033, it's going to more than double. You have a lot more people on the streets, and that is not good for the stability of this country.
Great.
And so in the budget, again, there are certain things that have been mentioned when it comes to job creation on the infrastructure side and all of that. I do concede that, yes, a lot more can and should be done, especially, again, connecting to the point about productivity. Because, again, you look at the data points on our productivity, total factor, and other indicators, it's not that great. And a lot more can be done.
Government wants to produce or create some 800,000 jobs, amongst other things. Would that be enough to significantly deal with the problem we have? And what kinds of jobs would they be? I mean, construction jobs, and these jobs, how sustainable are they? After the construction is done, that's it?
Yeah, so some of them will be direct, some of them will be indirect, some of them will be induced. I think the real challenge is how you get the jobs and you also link them to skills training.
Great.
Right? So some of the things like the coding and things that have been mentioned, I mean, could help. But I think the fundamental point also is, in my view, sometimes we place too much emphasis also on governments coming to solve every problem, right? Having sort of been in the private space, you have to do a lot more to create those, call it, conditions that allows the private sector to thrive. So when we're actually thinking in terms of actual job growth, for me, is both job from the private sector side and then jobs within, call it, the core public or civil service. And those numbers would have to be totaled. But the important point for me is that when we look at the macro numbers and translate it to the micro level, we have a big problem there, and we need to do more.
Great. So let me come to let me come to Toma. I mean, seeing the budget, does it provide you enough hope that we will get the jobs out there? And what specifically do you see in the budget that will trigger that jobs creation?
Well, first of all, we will not get jobs we want. Government is 800,000 jobs. Where are those jobs going to come from? Who is going to pay for those jobs? The fact is that, look, why the political class play the blame game of who has put us in this situation, who hasn't, and who is making the situation better and who is not. The fact is that we're in a deep hole. Economically. We are doing our best to cover. In fact, the speed at which the current government is bringing us out of the hole is very impressive. But you see, as they say, Rome was not built in a day. It's going to take us quite some time to get out of this situation we're in. It's going to take quite some more time to create the jobs we need. This is not something that one budget can solve. So I think right now what you should be thinking about most is managing expectations. Managing expectations. Look, if you Doc and Honorable come here and say, well, they are part of the current government and this government budget is going to create jobs for everybody, not true. Richard will come and say, oh, look, nothing will come out of this thing because the efforts being done is misdirected. There's not enough serious effort being done to solve the problem. Also, not true. The truth is that we have accumulated this problem over more than a decade of poor economic management. Now we could be on the right path to come out of it, but the damage we have created over 10 years or more cannot be solved in 1 or 2 years. It's going to take us time and patience. And that's what everybody has to understand.
All right. A few of the messages that have come through, let me just take those quickly. This one from Togby, it says, please ask Richard, per his submission, is he admitting that things are better now? He also continues to ask, so were the benefits of the 2017 based on the structures put in place by the NDC and the IMF as per what he's saying? I think we've addressed that. This from Jones Adoboy says, good morning, Selorm. The usual jargon that characterized the budget in the past used to confuse us. That usual jargon that used to confuse us is no more, you see. Just in less than 1 year, we've been able to build such strong economic fundamentals with all the indicators looking favorable. This is the real men and real economic growth, and not the other ones we have had in the past. Instead of apologizing to Ghanaians, they have the guts to be talking. That's Jones in Adoboy. Jones Adoboy in La. Let me talk to Nelson. Nelson, I mean, no, I'll come to you. Quite a number of people on this. No, I'm giving you a lot of time today. You know. No, I have been giving.
But you have backup from Doc, yourself, Franklin. What do you want?
No, maybe they are speaking the truth. Maybe they are speaking the truth.
No.
Nelson, so I see the attempt to relieve the citizenry or the public of taxes, etc. So we talk about VAT reforms, COVID levy scrapped, and then VAT moved from 21.9% to some 20%, etc. Are these not going to affect, revenue mobilization? And how sure are we that even though we are reducing these taxes and these measures, we'll still be able to raise enough to fund, the projects and fund the budget itself?
All right, thank you very much, Selorm. And well, I mean, one of the big reliefs in this budget has to do with the way the VAT has been structured now. Initially, the VAT is having some distortions.
Nelson, I think we want to see you on the video.
Please, can you see me?
Yes, you go ahead. Yes, we can.
Yes, sure. So as I was saying, initially the computation of VAT was having some distortions inbuilt there. I mean, where you take the exclusive amount, you add the 2.5% NHIS, you add the GET fund and add the COVID levy, before you get the VATable amount, and then you put your 15% standard rate on it. And that was a serious, blunder that we have committed in the past. And because of that, most businesses do not comply or do not remit, what they are supposed to remit to the Ghana Revenue Authority. However, per our search that we did in the market, businesses are happy because now it is very simple. You just take your 20%, you apply it on the exclusive amount, and you get whatever you want to get. And so, reason why we have actually classified this budget to be business friendly and policy credible. Because once you are able to review your VAT in that manner, it's going to help compliance. But the thing is this, government is banking its hope on compliance. You see, before somebody can comply with its tax obligation, both filing and payment obligation, they also want to see accountability as to what the government is using their tax revenue for. Now, when you look at the composition of total tax revenue for this year, government wants to do about a little over 260-something billion Ghana cedis. But the thing is, you have taken out COVID levy, and that may also affect, the total amount
some
of
3.6 or 3.7 billion from COVID levy alone is now being taken out.
Exactly. But I think that there are low-hanging fruits within the system that GRA can actually pluck. One of them, I've always been saying, property rate.
We didn't actually hear property rate, did we? I didn't hear much about property rate in this budget. I didn't hear anything about it. All right, go ahead.
Certainly. Yeah, so it's one of the low-hanging fruits. Selorm, there are so many high-rising buildings in Accra now, most especially, I'm sure recently you drove to Cantonment, Osu, East Legon. I mean, people need to pay property rate. And property rate alone can rake in a lot more tax. In fact, there is a concept in taxation we call the Laffer curve, which says that there is an optimum level of tax revenue, a tax revenue that government can generate from a tax rate. But when the tax rate goes beyond that, then government revenue falls. And so this is not a time for us to be talking about increasing tax rate, but rather identify the loopholes in the system, seal the revenue leakages, identify the low-hanging fruit, just like the property rate, and then we go in for them. In terms of whether government can meet its tax revenue or total revenue for the year, well, it depends on the level of compliance, because there are a lot of people within the tax bracket who are not even paying taxes, most especially those who are in the informal sector. Reason why some of us, we are so happy when the modified taxation and the compliance scheme was launched recently. I think we need to do more on education. We need to educate, sensitize, and conscientize taxpayers on their tax payment obligation. And so as to whether government will meet its revenue target, well, we live to see. But let me quickly add that regarding job creation, Selorm, you saw what happens in LWAC. That tells us that there is a serious problem regarding job creation in Ghana. Government intends to create well over 800,000 jobs. I think you cannot create jobs when the economy is growing. But how will the economy grow when the private sector is suffering? Currently, the average lending rate in Ghana is around 24%. And you cannot grow an economy with such a high lending rate. And so we expect that the next meeting of the Bank of Ghana, they will relook at the policy rate and cut it down by some 350 basis points. In any case, inflation has eased to single digits. So we expect lending rates to significantly come down. When lending rates are high, businesses cannot expand. The economy cannot grow. Government alone cannot employ the 800,000 people next year. The employment must be private sector led. But when the private sector is being suffocated by high lending rate, then there is a problem. And so I think that the priority next year should be how to lessen the burden on businesses, most especially cutting down on the lending rate so that businesses can go. In fact, recently, when we check the financial statement of banks, you will see that they are making so much profit. A bank can make well over 200 million Ghana cedis. It's because their lending rate is very high. And businesses cannot go and borrow. If you also check the non-performing loans of the banks, it is well over 20%. And that is a serious threat to the banking sector. So let lending rates come down. Let businesses go and borrow. In fact, this is why some of us, we are even happy that the Women's Development Bank is finally coming on board. Because when you go to the market, the chunk of the economic operators within our market are women. Selorm, it will interest you to know that some of them, they need just 1,000, 2,000 to shore up their capital. So when we are able to do some of these things, I mean, we should be able to grow the economy. Sustainable.
Exactly my next point to you on the Women Development Bank. Atufosin said some 400 million cedis has been allocated for that. And we know the minimum capital requirement. Is it that this will just be used to pay for the minimum capital requirement? What happens to infrastructure? What happens to setting up the bank itself and all of that? And how different will this Women Development Bank be? Of course, when you go to the market, you see women, etc. Can't we resource, departments, maybe SME departments in banks, etc., to focus on these people so that lending rates to them will be lower? Because the money the Women's Bank will be giving them will not be for free. It will be money that they have to pay for at some interest rate. Couldn't you have given or incentivized the SME banking divisions or departments of the commercial banks to take up this and be more favorable towards our market women, so that they are not giving the same rates, etc., that the other people in the commercial banks will be getting? Well, 400 million and all of these. And you know the thing about government banks, people will say, this is our bank, they take the money, they may not pay back. 1,000 cedis, 500 cedis, 300 cedis. How are you going to collect that? Are you going to seize their houses, or I mean, and would the issue of collateral also come up? I mean, these are questions government generally must answer. But since you brought it, just deal with it from the technical point for me. Yes, are you there? Did you hear me? That's Nelson, yes. Oh, I think...
Well,
yes, yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So if you recall, I think last year about 51 million was allocated for the Women's Development Bank. And then this year, 401 million is allocated. You know that the minimum capital for commercial banks in Ghana is 400 million. Now, you are suggesting that why wouldn't it be prudent for government to give that money to the commercial banks? Well, what I know for development banks is that they give the money to the commercial banks, and the commercial banks will only lend the money to the SMEs. I mean, that is the same thing that Development Bank Ghana is doing now. For now, we don't really know the mode of operation of how the whole scheme will work. But the challenge is that in the past, if you look at Maslock is actually struggling because these monies were given to politicians. Politicians give the money to their people, and their people are saying, that is my MP who gave me the money, so I will not pay back. You get it? And so if we don't restructure this one in a way to avoid this kind of behavior, then the Women's Development Bank will also suffer the same fate. Now, the rate that the banks will give to the women will be much more higher than what the government will give to them through the Development Bank. But I think that the whole concept, the whole idea of empowering market women who are having SMEs is a very fantastic idea. Let me tell you something. During the election time, a lady approached me. She told me that she operates what's the name? A laundry. And she needs just to replace washing machines because the ones that she's using, they are actually obsolete. I was like, okay. Then she wants to go to the banks and borrow because she doesn't have money. But the rate that the banks were quoting, I mean, she can't pay. So these are the people who actually need this money from the Women's Development Bank. As to whether they will pay collateral, you know, some of these market women, they don't have any collateral.
Exactly my point.
You even ask them to give cash collateral.
Yes.
Yes. So if you ask them to give cash collateral, they will tell you, you want to give me 5,000 and you are asking me to bring 1,500 or 2,000 before. So the effective amount you give me is 3,000. So we are all waiting as market watchers. We'll see how government will roll out this Women's Development Bank to support, encourage our women, especially those who are, you know, in the market wholesale. Now, let me also say that another area that I think the job will be created, you know, last year, when you look at the allocation to CAPEX, it was very low. But this year, government is allocating about 57 billion Ghana cedis. That is enormous through the, you know, capital expenditure. And you see, all these things, they are beautiful, they are good to the ear, but it all depends on domestic revenue mobilization.
Great. Thanks. Now, let me come to Richard. So, job creation. I mean, a number of measures or a number of policies or things have been proposed in the budget for those. Focus on agri, capital expenditure, as Nelson mentioned, is gone up. A lot of those we hope will do well. What's your thinking around it? How optimistic are you that these measures will generate the jobs and will churn out the growth and development we all yearn for?
So I'll answer that question, but first of all, let me just talk briefly about a few things that I've noted. I think when Franklin was talking, he mentioned about the debt situation, that the fastest debt recovery program we have had since time, I think he's saying. But that's not true. Again,
the DDEP?
Yeah, no, it's just talk about our debt positioning improving.
Yes.
Our debt position improving. You see, and this is why it's fundamentally the case that we see a continuum where it is from one end to another. Where there are issues, let's point them out and deal with them. You know, the IMF program that we went to, it's never happened, okay, where we are required to front load all the debt issues, where the target in 5 years was supposed to achieve 55% debt to GDP. It's 55 debt to GDP ratio in 5 years.
Okay.
So on the basis of that, the government was put in a position where we have to front load all the restructuring effort, what you are going to do to achieve consolidation. So fiscal consolidation was front loaded in a manner that was injurious, but you have to do that. And that made the government of Akufo-Addo very unpopular. But that was what I'm coming.
The other point too is that the exchange rate situation has improved. Yeah. So the exchange rate improvement has impacted positively on the debt situation.
Yeah, you're right. But even that, there's a thing to be said about that. How we got there, at what cost? Okay, that we have the city as we have it today. There's a cost to it. It's not just a freebie. There's a cost to it. But I'm coming. Monetary policy. But I'm coming. But that is inherent. You see, when I don't want to be derailed, but let me focus on this.
So we don't have a lot of time. Yeah.
Look, so all of that, the domestic aspect of the DDEP, the external aspect, I think the combined effort saved us in excess of, I think, about $12 billion. Okay. They are the NDC is a beneficiary of that, including the Eurobond 5 billion debt reduction, and also in addition to that, a reduction in interest from 8 to 5%. Okay, that has contributed to, bringing our debt situation to here. That is work. I'm coming.
It's like you go on a frolic of your own to go and create a problem. And you try to solve it, and you want us to clap for you for trying to solve a problem that you have created yourself. That's what you're saying. Because you made a debt to GDP ratio around 56. I mean,
that is expansion you're talking about. You're talking about expansion.
Not the
new series is what you're talking.
Yes, I'm talking about new, because you can't compare the old series and the new series. So
what we inherited is the old series. So let's talk about
that. Yes, but if you've done the rebasing,
let me just give you the number.
That is not even in contention. Okay.
The 2016 debt to GDP gross was. No, in 2016, 55.63. So round it up, 57%.
Okay.
Well,
56%.
Well, I'm not even debating that. I'll check that for myself.
And then it went all the way.
I don't think that's correct. But the point is that just hold on. Just relax. Selorm, just allow me. Yeah. I'm just making a point. This is not anything new. This is a narrative that is there. Okay. So that was done, and we brought the economy to where we brought it, recovering. From 2023, the trajectory of our economy was clear. It is on the path that we're on now. Inflation down, reserve up.
It hasn't been fast tracked.
It has. Well, I don't know at what rate you're saying is fast tracking, but we're talking about the trajectory. The trajectory shows that you are recovering. That's what it is. Now, the matter to do with we've gone to create a mess and we needed to be clapped for. I'm not sure who is saying that. Because when we came into office in 2017, the growth we inherited, Selorm, was 3.4. The following year, that grew by 8.1%. The economy expanded by 8.1%. And I think 2018, about 6.3 or 6.5, 6.2. And then in 2019, again, 6.5.
Yes.
You understand? In 2019, in particular, this country surpassed Nigeria in terms of foreign direct investment. Is that the economy they are talking about, pre-existing condition, and that economy was collapsing on its own before COVID 2020? Is that economy they are talking about? You understand? The perception they create is as though that when we came in, things just fell apart.
Okay, things fell apart.
Things consolidated, and you pointed out, we brought inflation to 7.8, 7.9% in this country. So what is this whole thing about? Certainly, Adoo is forcing, and therefore whatever is done must be that he just came and found Ghana today and brought the economy here. When the foundation was built for him, and there is evidence to trace the trajectory, that things were moving in that direction. Now the question must be asked. What specific policy you are advising now? What the ministry? What specific policy have you put in place to occasion what we're seeing? Apart from fiscal discipline, consolidation, which are inherent in the IMF policy. Okay. What exactly? No, I haven't finished.
Just 30 seconds. Okay. You come back. Okay. You have an intervention to make. Just quick one. Quick one.
First of all, Michelle, please. When we talk about the good performance of the Ghanaian economy, between 2017 and 2019. Let's get some things very clear. The initial takeoff point, as talk was pointed out, was the fact that you inherited a new gas field, a new oil and gas field. The Vancouver. Okay. That's one. Two, now you started taking $3 billion a year off the Eurobond market. Now, the claim was that part of the money was being used for restructuring existing debt. No figures were provided on that. I'm a financial journalist. I go to MPC meetings, every MPC meeting. No figures were ever provided on that. In fact,
on what?
On how much of the $3 billion a year you are taking from the Eurobond market was being to refinance existing maturities which were falling.
Okay, you let me carry on.
And to the extent that even Dr. Addison himself, who unfortunately has been villainized by the NDC in their effort to win power, he always used to make it clear at every MPC meeting that no matter what the Bank of Ghana is doing, we need fiscal consolidation. That the Ministry of Finance has to sharpen up in terms of how they were spending money compared to how much money was coming in. So that explains why the economy looked to be doing so well up to when COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war came.
You see, you have brought in another perspective that you see, this thing, if we want to go back and forth on this matter, because governance is continuum, you find here one thing that somebody has done, and then here one thing that another person is benefiting from.
When we realize that government...
I beg you. Yes, I beg. Let me just... No, I beg you. You are hijacking. Just hold on.
If you look at all the aggregate...
So right now, what we have here is only me. We have Fred, we have him, and we have my brother on there. And Thomas is oscillating between the two bottles. So allow me, let me make the point. You see, Thomas makes a point that we inherited an oil field when we came to an office. Okay, no problem. No problem. No, it's okay. But here's a point. There was no oil field in this country. They inherited one in 2010 when they started producing. The GDP sparked, I think, to about 11 or 14 or so percent. You understand? How did that become 3.4% when they left office? Was that not there? Was that not there? That was there. So when we are talking about this thing, let's not be, sitting here and acting as though that they haven't done zilch. I want to know what you have done apart from the fiscal consolidation measures that were already pre-existing when you came to inherit. You understand? So we can have a substantial question, and I'll get to the job matter, because when you ask him, he hasn't answered the job issue. He's not told us how they're going to create 8,000 jobs. They're just throwing numbers to us. That's what it is.
It's not true.
No problem. But when he was talking, he was inviting by our
No, I'm saying that I want you to have your time. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so you should just listen. It's not to be invited. But you see, that's the point. So I'm just saying that on this economy, let's have a conversation about progress. What we have today is by virtue of the investment that our Akufo-Addo government did, the discipline that we commenced, the disruption of COVID. Of course, they don't want to agree, but on a good time, they will agree to that, and Russia, Ukraine. But I can tell you from my heart of heart that but for COVID, this economy won't be where we got to in 2020. Oh, I'm telling you that for a fact, because I have. But there are many of you and only one of me. So why don't you allow me to talk?
That was hit by.
Fred, let him know.
His episode is just bullying me like that. So here's I have 3 fiscal years to show you the MPP's record.
2017,
18 and 19.
What did you do?
We were growing. No, here's a question. Let me answer that.
We
were growing. No, it's a harmless question. So I answer. We were growing 7% on average. That 3.
You put in place to gain that growth.
I can tell you after he tells me what measures he's put in place. So the point. Oh no, I can't have only 1 minute.
Just go ahead.
Give me a friend's own time. So you understand? They haven't answered that question. Now on the job matter. So the issue to do with debt is improved and all of that. They can't take any credit for it. It's a continuum. We started a foundation, they are building on it, that's okay. So Franklin must note that. You see, on the job issue,
you're fighting like an octopus.
well, that's what you have created.
No.
That's what you have created. The only comfort I have is Toma. But Toma is also moving between two bottles.
Frankly, sitting somewhere, you throw one at him, and just go ahead.
You understand? So, but the job matter. I don't understand what the NDC is talking about. They promise 24 hours. We are not seeing it. I think I see somewhere in the budget they are allocating some 110 billion or so, million, sorry, to 24-hour economy. Are you serious? You know, budget, what is budget supposed to do is an economic plan, okay, to translate the government's mandate into action for the people. That's what it is. So it shows the priorities that you have. So where the allocation will show you this is where government is interested in. So you say 24-hour economy, okay, and you are positioning there 110 million. I'm sitting there saying that what are you going to achieve with that? They tell us about Greek. And this budget, I think there has 3 parameters: consolidation, transformation, and no, I think there's one
accelerating
other,
economic and
jobs. And then jobs.
Economic strengthening security and social sector.
Yes, no, not the theme, but then the 3 anchors of it.
Yes. Consolidation. Okay,
Consolidation,
growth,
transformation,
and economic transformation.
Yes, you understand those 3. Now you're asking about jobs. They said they'll create 800,000 jobs. There is an inverse relationship between GDP growth and unemployment or employment.
Inverse, yes.
Yes, it's an inverse. So where your economy is expanding, unemployment goes down. So they say that they will grow at what? 4.8%. That's a jobless growth they are talking about. Compare that. Well, that's a minimum, but that is what we are working with. You understand? That's what we are working with. That's what they have given us. That's the budget. Until the reality comes, that's what we're dealing with. And so, okay, so I'm coming. No problem. Oh, no. So if we are taking that as a fact, it means that the 800,000 jobs they want to create is a minimum. Is that it? Is 800 is a minimum?
The growth rate they've suggested is 4.8, and that's a minimum.
Yeah, this thing, when the rubber hits the road,
yes,
it is no longer propaganda. These guys, the kinds of things they verbalize in this country, and now what we are seeing, they're only talking about consolidation and this. Consolidation translating into people having jobs is what you saw at Elwak.
Which we will come to.
Okay? That there is a search for 3,000 people.
4,000 I hear.
Well, what I understand is that clearance has begun for 3,000. Okay? But if you be charitable and say 4,000, how many people are out there hunting for that job?
A lot.
A lot. You come to Agric, they said they will create some 1.7 million jobs in Agric. Bro, part of the 800 or whatever. I'm just thinking here, my head is spinning. There is nothing investment when you look at Agric. The Agric ministry, they allocated was on 2.2 billion. Okay, sorry?
2.45, almost 2.5, yeah.
Okay. But that includes...
And that is just for food security.
Yes, but that includes... I'm coming. That includes the road project they are trying to do with that they allocated. I mean, so that's a sum total. That is included in that. The 823 million is included in the allocation to our Greek sector. Okay, so 2.2 for Ministry for Goods and Services and their normal operation. What is that? That's where you want to create the jobs. Okay, you have Feed Ghana program, which you can tell me, by my position and my search and experience at the district level, okay, in Agric, is that nothing has been disbursed for Feed Ghana. Okay, the component of it, which is the Farmer Center program, Farmer Center, whatever service that you want to do, is there. Now you say you're going to start that next year.
Nkwonkitengiti was launched.
Nkwonkitengiti is not under Feed Ghana.
Yes, but it's not under Feed Ghana,
no.
But it's also a policy to create jobs.
But we are talking about Agric. That's what I'm saying. So that's the point. So really, where we sit, Selorm, this budget, the celebration around it is numbers, and we don't eat
Numbers. Very good. That's a good point.
So that's the reality. There is nothing else to say. There's nothing they have done. My questions are outstanding. He should tell us. Let me just put my question. That he should tell us because he's advising. Yes.
Yes. No, he has a question. He has it. Don't repeat it.
He has it?
Yes, he has it. So that we.
But if he doesn't answer, so because he's an advisor to the finance minister.
Answer, Richard. Fred. So he said we don't eat numbers. The jobs. Where are they? How are we creating the jobs?
Richard.
Surprise. Richard is running away from data and statistics. Now today is contesting that we don't eat numbers. I'm extremely surprised. And it's even questioning the number of people who were at Airwork and other centers looking for military opportunity within the military sector. If all these guys were doing something before you left office, would they have been there today? We have been in office for barely 10 months. I've forgotten, Richard. We have been here forever and ever. And so these are the liabilities that we inherited, that we are trying to find solutions to. We didn't create them, right? And so don't make that argument. You see, whichever way, globally, when it comes to employment creation, there are things you need to put in place which eventually will translate into employment creation for people. If you develop infrastructure, for instance, if you build more schools, what that means is that you will take in more teachers, you are likely to take an accountant, you are likely to take a beza, you are likely to take even cleaners and what have you. You create employment. If you build additional hospital, you take in more health workers to work at the place. If you build a railway system, go and check the statistics across the world. The number of people that the railway sector alone employs. And so if you get your railway system working well, you get your water transportation working well, these are sustainable jobs. They are not a NAPCO type. The 100,000 will come and celebrate and jubilate, and after 2-3 years, it fizzles out. And the people are back home. That's what we're talking about. It's just like building a terminal 3. When you build a terminal 3 and you employ people there to work, these are dignified job, sustainable job. If you expand the thermal port, you bring in more people. That is the concept of job creation that we are talking about. I agree with Franklin when he makes the point that this thing should not just be on the shoulders of government alone, and that we should create the space for the private sector, like PPP. I agree that government cannot do everything alone. And so once we create that conducive environment, and that's why we are looking at the tax regime. Again, I agree with the point that was made, that if we can get the policy rate coming down, we can get the interest rate from the commercial banks coming down, then of course the private sector can move in there to go and access more funding, and they'll be able to open their businesses and employ more people. So all that government is seeking to do at this point is to create that conducive environment where the private sector will lead in employment generation, but you can also, of course, take government out completely. Today, as we speak in Ghana, the highest employer in this country is a government. Is that not correct? And so government will continue to create employment opportunity and continue to create that conducive environment in the agriculture sector that my brother is running away from. Today, as we speak, more than 60% of our people are within the agriculture sector. And maybe what you have not been able to define very well in this country, there are a lot of people you meet out there who tell you, I am not working. The fellow may be a missing. Today, when a missing go to work every day, they mark them, I think, 200 Ghana cedis a day. So assuming he gets a consistent job that he's doing for a month, put the figures together and check how much the fellow is earning within a month. Go and take a headmaster of a secondary school who perhaps even have a master's certificate. His salary may not even be up to 5,000 Ghana cedis. You understand? So yes, people are underemployed. People are employed, but in their minds, because I am not wearing a suit and a tie, I am unemployed. And so at every opportunity, I'm looking for another employment. Majority of the people today that were at Airwork and the rest, if you get close, some of them are already doing something. But the thing about they are doing is not good enough, or it's not rewarded enough, or it's not very sustainable. And so with the government sector, once you enter there, at least you are guaranteed some number of years of working without any interruption. That's why people are moving in that area. So these are the things that we need to look at. Now, if you, again, agriculture sector, if right, buffer stock have given them money. Government has issued a strict directive. All the eggs that you are going to feed this school, don't bring them from outside. If you are going to do executive programs and they lay the eggs, these eggs must be sold to the buffer stock or the schools. So the people who are keeping the birds are also making money on daily basis. We are making the point that we want to promote rice cultivation in this country. How then do you go abroad and say go and bring rice? For example, you come to my district where rice cultivation is one of our major, preoccupations. Then you go and bring rice from wherever it is to come and feed children like Mafu, Lolobi, or Likpe. When that is what they do, why don't you buy the local rice from the people? Why don't you buy it?
Government policy must drive that.
Now, government policy is in that particular direction. That is why we are saying that we want to even decentralize the purchase of goods. Either to everything must come to buffer stock in Accra. Now we are saying that the schools themselves must buy the food stuff from the local community. So that the farmer knows that if I produce 1,000 tons of rice, there's a ready market for me. So these are the interventions that government is putting in place. Unfortunately, we don't have time. The energy sector, look at the investment we're trying to do.
Let me just go to Franklin.
Don't give me time at all.
Let me go to Franklin for the final word on this. No, I'm not pushing. So Franklin, you are the last word on the job creation matter. You are the final word on this, Franklin.
Well, listen, interesting conversations, by the way. Look, I think this job creation mantra, don't forget, since 2010 or 2013, thereabout, up to 2024, politicians have created lots of jobs. In fact, millions of jobs with their maps and on paper. Sorry, with their maps. But actually, if you look at it carefully, the net effect is just about 250,000 proper jobs. So it's important that this conversation is coming up. I mean, the 800,000 jobs that the Uncle Ato wants to create are fine and dandy, but we need to ask specific questions. We need to be sure that, is the government the one that's creating all these jobs, or they are looking at the private sector part as well? I understand, of course. If you look at the government spending close to 300-something billion this next year, and about 57 of that billion is going to infrastructure, capital investment. We need to actually do the ratio analysis. How much of that money is going to the private sector to create this job? As I understand, Theo, correct me if I'm wrong, the VAT reforms, the VAT rationalization, probably puts about 6 billion Ghana cedis back into businesses' hands. 6 billion is fine, but compared to how much government spends, 30 billion on the road, infrastructure, that is too disproportionate. And as I understand that the private sector is the engine of growth, we should be doing a lot more to ensure that the private sector gets more. Not this, these little ones, $400 million, $100 million to this year into an SME bank. It's fine. But clearly speaking, the private sector needs to be given that opportunity. And I think that way we'll be creating a lot of the jobs. Having said that, I think we also need to be clear that at the end of the day, this economy must be shepherded by all of us. We should be watching the numbers. We should be tracking the numbers so that we don't ever have to wake up one day and somebody tells us that, well, the wind blew from Lolobi, Kumasi to Apafu to this, then it destroyed certain crops, and because of that, the economy suffered. No.
Very well.
Thank you.
Very well. Great. Thanks so much. We'll take a short break. When we return, I know Theo has a lot to say. Toma also has something to say, but we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll go to the next discussion, which has free recruitment and the stampede. Thanks so much. Theo, now that you're around, we'll be having you more often. And Richard he was here last week, and he'll be here hopefully again next week. And Toba and Fred and Nelson and Franklin will join in this discussion as well. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll go to the military recruitment. Don't go away.
Hey Ghana, so you people know Miss Brother Man small. If you it's your boy. Kill them all. But this time, I'm not only killing mosquitoes, I am killing the grades. See? This wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have the perfect mosquito-free atmosphere. Thank you, Out Insecticide. And yeah, Out Mosquito Coil. For a mosquito-free atmosphere, trust Out to... You are not serious.
Out Insecticide. So ya boa, faha.
Announcing Ghana's first unlimited photocopier leasing. Yes, from just 983 Ghana cedis, you can lease a multifunctional photocopier and print unlimited. Yes, unlimited and free paper every month. Guess what? That's not all. Toners, repairs, and maintenance all are free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244 644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions.
Christmas, my favorite time of the year.
This festive season, Volta Serene Hotel invites you to experience the magic of Christmas and New Year like never before. From 20th of December to the 1st of January, step into a world of joy, music, laughter, and celebration. We begin on the 20th with a soulful carols night, filling the air with warmth and melody. Then, on 23rd and 24th of December, arrive in style as we welcome you with fresh coconut and local treats. Christmas Day brings pure delight, exciting moments for kids, relaxing escape for adults, and an elegant all-white dinner under the stars, crowned with a spectacular fireworks display. On Boxing Day, embrace culture and rhythm, from picnics and traditional dance to an unforgettable high life and old school night. As the week unfolds, enjoy movie night, live music, karaoke, and endless fun, until we welcome 2026 with a breathtaking fireworks show on New Year's Eve. Special Christmas packages starting from 4,050 for individuals, 5,250 for couples, and 8,900 Ghana cedis for a family of 4 for 2 nights. Call or WhatsApp 0541 539 867 or 0362 025 243 to book your experience today. Volta Serene Hotel. Feel the serene touch.
Hey Ghana, so you people know Miss Brother Man Small. If you knew, it's your boy. Kill them all, kill them all. But this time, I'm not only killing mosquitoes, I am killing the great. See? This wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have the perfect mosquito-free atmosphere. Thank you, Out Insecticide. And yeah, Out Mosquito Coil. For a mosquito-free atmosphere, trust Out to... You are not serious.
Out Insecticide. So ya boa, faha.
Announcing Ghana's first unlimited photocopier leasing. Yes, from just 983 Ghana cedis, you can lease a multifunctional photocopier and print unlimited. Yes, unlimited and free paper every month. Guess what? That's not all. Toners, repairs, and maintenance all are free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244 644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions.
This November, something amazing is coming to Accra. Are you a farmer with fresh produce? Are you into fish farming, poultry, or livestock? Then get ready for the November edition of the AgriFair 2025. Yes, AgriFair 2025. It's happening on Friday the 28th to Sunday the 30th of November. It's happening at the A4 Southern Children's Park, and it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. It's the ultimate weekend marketplace. From fruits and vegetables to poultry, livestock and fish to agri-inputs and processing machinery, all at unbeatable farm gate prices. Whether you're selling or buying, this is your chance to connect, trade and grow. Enjoy the freshest farm produce, sizzling kebabs, and a vibrant marketplace atmosphere all in one space. Register now and secure your spot. Call 0558-973-973 for more information. AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation. AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Horticulture Business Platform, Development Bank Ghana, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, Gressol, and the Ghana Exim Bank.
Yeah, welcome back. This is a big issue. And now we move into the second matter, which has to do with the Ghana Armed Forces recruitment stampede. 6 people lost their lives. Very sad incident. They went in search of a job and they lost their lives. They wanted to serve the country through the military, but that's what happened. This actually flows from our previous discussion on the budget and the numbers, whether the budget is good enough to produce the jobs. For many of those people who were there, many have said that they don't think a lot of them would have been there if there were jobs. Some of them are just going there because they feel the security of the jobs there. And so the matter of jobs is key. We've been joined by Brigadier General Robert Ofesaki, who is a retired Army General. Of course, Franklin Kujo is still on. Richard Ahyangba is still here. Fred Agbanu is here. And then Theo Champon, doctor, is also here. He deals with numbers, so he'll give us some numbers on employment later in the show. Brigadier General, good morning and welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you. All right, so yes, before we talk to Brigadier General, let's hear what the ministry has been saying about the victims of that tragedy. We understand that government is giving to the families that lost people a slot each, and the only condition is that they must be fit. Let's hear the Deputy Defense Minister make that announcement.
His Excellency the President has directed that we give the opportunity to the family to replace all these 6 dead persons. Of course, we have to check their fitness level. Not only that, His Excellency the President has also directed that all injured persons involved be also given the automatic qualification to be recruited.
All right, so that's Brigadier, Deputy Defense Minister there. Whilst we're trying to get to Brigadier General for his take on this and to explain to us the processes, I come to Theo for some unemployment figures and how that is shaping our country. Theo, you have some figures?
So unemployment, I just thought I put into context some of the job numbers, because Richard asked the question, where are the jobs going to come from within this budget? And of course, also the point is that, look, and Thomas made that point, one budget cannot solve all the unemployment problems in this country. The budget is one instrument of government policy, the most important, but it's one of several instruments. So just to give a bit of breakdown in terms of, sector or program and where the indicative job numbers are, there is mention under the big push and then the infrastructure program. So this is construction, civil works, logistics, and then that's directly around 490,000 jobs. And this is both direct, and it's based on using some multipliers from the World Bank, right? If you look at the textiles and garment space, so this is within manufacturing and also promoting export competitiveness. There's mention of the 3 new textile garment factories. And again, that is going to do around 27,000 direct jobs. I've not included the indirect. There are 7 agro-processing plants. So again, within the, call it agro side or the food processing side, these ones have about 700 direct jobs, and then we don't have the indirect, but you could use a multiplier of about 3 to 5 for that subsector. And then under the integrated oil palm policy, that again under agriculture and agri-processing, this is going to do 250,000 jobs, both direct and indirect. So you see that some of them I have the direct, I don't have the indirect, others we've got the total. And then the farmer services centers as well, that is going to create, from the data I've got here, that is going to create a couple of thousand jobs. I don't have a direct number on that, but at least the big numbers really is from the big push side, and then the integrated oil and palm side. If you add those up, that gets you to around 700 or so, thousand. On top of other initiatives that have been done. And quickly, please, if you allow me to, I think some concern also was expressed about the revenue side of the equation, that, okay, you could do all of these things if you don't have the money, right? What do you do? And I think it's also important just to highlight the fact that if you look at the numbers and if you look at what we have been doing in the past, anytime you have like a drop in revenue, there's actually a corresponding adjustment on the expenditure side of the equation. And this does not just predate this administration. In fact, it's been the last 5 or 6 or so years. And people have been saying, but we're not spending money. I think you made that point as well. If you look at the Q1 to Q3 25 expenditure numbers, right? Employee compensation is actually up by 1 percentage point. Where people are complaining, which is really on capital expenditure, where you've got a drop from 26 billion to 11 billion, like almost a 50% drop in those numbers. That is where people say, we're not seeing things or the action on the ground. But for good reason, because in the first few months of the government, they've had to do, or undertake, audits. And you need to understand the state of things before you even start awarding, right, new contracts. Hence why in the 26 budget, you do see a big allocation going into some of these capital expenditure and infrastructure sectors. But also now with an emphasis that you cannot spend when you don't have the authorization. So all those additional controls to allow you to keep tabs on the spending becomes, extremely important.
Very well.
So I just thought, again, just to put things
figures in context.
into and then the last one, 1 minute, on the again revenue, the VAT reforms and the things that are taking place. It's quite a big one, right? Now we're around 20%. The African average is around 18. There's still room to go. But fundamentally, you're pushing money into people's pockets, right? And then importantly, the COVID levy that has been scrapped, because that was one of the things that the government said they would do. If we're actually able to close 1%, right, of the loopholes that we're getting from the import declaration at the port. So the minister showed some analysis of the leakages.
So even though we are scrapping it, we'll recoup or we'll get it from
if I even
sources.
close 1% of that loophole at the port, you're going to actually make more than 5 times what you are getting from scrapping the COVID levy.
I see. Great. Thanks so much, Doc. Yes. No. Let's. Yes.
Revenue in this country.
Yes, but
the thing is that we are not.
It's mismanagement.
It's mismanagement.
Yes.
It's mismanagement. So that the issue is not about revenue generation. You go to the port, like he's saying, the money is going the wrong direction, to wrong pocket. The money is not coming into the system to be used for
great. We'll finish this discussion. So he wanted to throw in the job figures, which he has done, which puts.
But you didn't mention the 1 million codex program. You've forgotten about that.
But now we know, right? That's in the last.
So you know it's also employment. You know that complicated is also employment issue.
I'm trying to tame Richard.
Oh no, but I'm just reminding you.
A few messages. Good morning, Selorm, and your distinguished panelists. Honestly, I admire Dr. Teal's consistent objectivity in his submissions on the issues related to the economy of Ghana. My prayer is that he strengthens same in his new role for the good health of the economy. It's quite a long one, but that's from Frederick Ayuni in Bolga. You said your dream is to publish a paper under his guidance someday. We'll be glad to get connected if he wouldn't mind. Okay, so I mean, you're in Bolga East, in the Bolga East district. All right, so Prince Henry Nkufrudia says, anyone who at this moment will say that this 10-month-old government is not doing well must be doing so out of anger or hatred for the government and must be very selfish. That's Prince Henry in Nkufrudia. Mausi Ayebi Star in Abutia Tete in the Voter region says, I support the Ghanaian budget, the budget read by the finance minister, which signifies a brighter future for our nation. Yes, you go on and on, but yes, that's the government of it. Prof. Agbomebias is also doing the viewing and he's following the discussion. Now, Brigadier General Robert Ofe-Saki is ready for us. He's a retired Army General. Brigadier, good morning. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have you. Yes.
Good morning.
Great. Now, talk to us about how recruitment into the Ghana Armed Forces has historically been and what has changed over the years to date. in 2 minutes.
Generally speaking, if we want to go through the history of recruitment for the armed forces, it's a long story that I can give from colonial time, independence time, the various military regimes, civil regimes, and all that. But the purpose of this meeting, in my view, is to look at what recently happened and how it could have been averted. And then it may be of interest to also note that for the past 8 years and beyond.
Yes, General, if you could take your hand off your phone, your camera, if you could take your hand off it, so that we see your face well, yes.
Right. You may realize that a lot of recruitment have taken place during the Fourth Republic. Recent ones is the last 8 years, where every year there was this massive recruitment processes and expansion of the numbers in the armed forces. I'll go straight to the point of preparation and mode of recruitment, which resulted in this national calamity of losing this 7 able-bodied females in this recruitment. First and foremost, there has always been a process of recruitment in all the stages, and then it's finally, comes to an end when the person has been taken and he has to go for training. For this purpose, now it has even been digitized to the extent that people didn't need to come and write their names and then all these rigorous up and downs and all that. The final phase, which has caused this calamity, is said that it could have been averted. It could have been averted because previous years, they were now coming in columns of services. That is Navy, Air Force, and then Army. It is unfortunate that in this particular instance, they mixed all the 3 services together and brought in, as it was being written in the newspapers, of about more than 20,000. That is about the size of spectators at Accra Sports Stadium when it had not been expanded and in its whole form. So in the first place, apart from poor, crowd control, and also indiscipline by people who have converged at a place, as to sit down quietly, like you are showing on this television, and if there's even any change of people coming from outside and so forth, causing them to stampede, I think the first blame goes to the indiscipline of the crowd. But when death comes in, that is when it calls for investigation and see what people actually did, security agencies or not. And we have example of stadium disaster, how it happened, and then the police that were being blamed actually were sent to court. So in my view, we should look at the practical approach, how it happened, and whether this method of recruitment is still what we should pursue. There are so many ways of going about it, but I won't go into the details. Once people are dead, we all console ourselves and mourn them. But there are so many mistakes that we've all committed. And then we tend to put the blame on one section of our society. So what happened at the stadium in the first place? Why congregate about 20,000 people? If it's a misjudgment, at the same time, maybe the military, I'm not defending them, did not expect that when they ask you to sit here and wait for your turn, you also forego it. In queues at the airport, if you realize, in that small space, they create bias and make you go a long route before you reach where you are going. We didn't make any kind of circular arrangement, and they were all dumped there. And as soon as they put a few sections like they are sitting there in an orderly manner, they vacated those positions. Who should tell somebody that you don't climb a wall to get access to a place which they tell you is already congested? It is part of the general indiscipline that we are all encountering and seeing on our streets in every aspect that we are doing. To even give an analogy to this situation, look at how we are all blaming a government for not being able to even clamp down on Galamsey, when the whole country at various levels, positions, political persuasions are contributing to it, from our chiefs to everybody. And then maybe you want maybe a president, Nana Akufo-Addo previously, or President Mahama to fight Galamsey alone. And then when the institutions he has put to go and fight in themselves are involved in even enhancing the Galamsey and so forth.
Yes,
it is the discipline.
Yes, you talk about poor crowd control. Yes, you talk about poor crowd control, etc., and the fact that the military may not have foreseen the indiscipline.
Crowd control.
But we know the military. We know the military as an institution of planning and proper execution, intelligence, etc. How does the military expect to have 20,000 people and over at a place and not anticipate that there will be instances of indiscipline and possible chaos for them to have planned to avert it? That's where the problem is it not?
What the problem is exactly, I'm saying that this recruitment, this type of recruitment has taken place several instances before. I remember when I was a captain in 1984, a similar incident happened at Telwak, the same place. And this time the people didn't die. 7 of them got seriously injured.
Okay, but you keep mentioning 7. Just to be clear, we know about 6. As the number increased to 7, just to clarify, because we've always known about 6 people.
I'm talking of an incident.
The previous one, yes. Initially, you mentioned 7, yes. All right, just go ahead, yes.
Yeah, 1984.
Okay.
A similar stampede has happened before. But what I'm saying is that recently, we've changed the mode of recruitment, by doing it by services, Army, Navy, Air Force. The size of numbers that came there, that size, in my view, I can't see how they could have actually processed about 20,000 people in about 2 or 3 days. And the first instance, calling this number to the place at a time. This is where maybe we as military people did not make the right judgment. And such a mistake can easily be corrected. And I don't think in future or any subsequent recruitment, they are going to assemble this number of people.
I see. There's also
that is my view.
Great. There's also the talk that the military should not be made to investigate this matter. We should have some external people or civilians, who understand the process to investigate it. Because some of these in the military will investigate it and we will not hear much of it anymore. It will be as if you've been asked for them to clean up their own mess, and we will not have real accountability. What's your take on that?
In fact, this assertion is also wrong. There is nowhere in our statutes that the military, when anything happens within their domain, should not investigate by our standing procedures and so forth. Anything that infringes on the good discipline of the armed forces, it is investigated institutionally by ourselves. The government, once people are dead, has also the mandate to also institute what we may call a coroner's inquest, which allows us to know whether the death was caused negligently and by who. That channel is also there.
I see.
So we as the military, we cannot refuse or stop making our own board of inquiry, which goes to the military high command. And
Great.
the military high command, they also report to the commander-in-chief.
Very well. Just hang in there for me, sir. Let me go around and I'll come back to you in a minute. Franklin, you've been listening. Very sad incident. What are your thoughts on this really, and how can we avert similar things in the future? Okay, so I don't have Franklin. Yes, Franklin just left. Fred, let me come to you. This is not good. 6 people losing their lives when they went to look for a job. What do you think went wrong with the system? How do we deal with this so we don't have it happening again?
So let me extend my condolences to the Berry family and with the sick expedient recovery. This is unacceptable. This is avoidable. And I say every day that society or any group of people who don't want to embrace change and don't want to be fixated on doing the old thing the same old way definitely don't get the same result. The Brigadier General is telling us that far back in 1984, they experienced a similar thing. And in 2025, we are experiencing same. Then the question is, what have we done all these many years? And every day I say that, Selorm, these things, they are not rocket science. Almost every country across the world, they have military, detachments, and they do recruitment and enlistment. And I don't think that Ghana enlists the highest number of security personnel across the world.
It's a job matter.
You understand? So how do they do it out there that the things that we are experiencing today, they don't experience it? Copy and paste. We can't do it. We have a country today with 16 regions, over 240-something districts. So we can't do these things at the district level. Now, we can't stagger the invitation. First of all, I have a difficulty even with asking prospective recruits to pay money for enlistment. It's not something I'm a fan of. We are all aware that the total number of people they've gotten clearance to pick are barely 4,000 people. And yet you have sold forms to close to 60,000 people. Your first screening, online screening, per the data, is that 30,000 of them failed. Yet you've taken their monies. Now 30,000, out of these 30,000, you are going to pick about 4,000, 26,000 will go out. So whichever way you apply and adopt any mechanism just to wither away the sheer numbers that we have. What would have been wrong? We have Army, we have Navy, we have Air Force. And so this week, we are going to screen those who want to join the Air Force.
The same people will go again. It's a job matter.
You see, the military is not like any other civilian body where normally we do things anyhow. The military is noted for discipline. They are noted for precision, that they'll do things in an orderly manner. And so it's not a place that the same people will go again. This day and age technology and all that, you should be able to use technology to determine that my brother here has applied to military. The system has captured his name, his picture, and all that. I'm saying that if it's artificial intelligence today, You don't need Anyagba to come to you physically to inspect him, to do physical selection. This day and age, you can use technology.
You need to see them at some point.
Yes, at some point, but with time, you would have scaled down the number to a sizable number that you can deal with. In Accra alone, we have Accra Sports Stadium lying there. Virtually, we are not using for anything today. University of Ghana Sports Stadium is there. Tema is there. What would have been wrong?
Independence Square.
Independence Square is there.
Yeah.
You understand? What would have been wrong to say that, okay, all those of you who want to do military, go to Accra Sports Stadium. Those of you who want to go into Air Force, go here. Those of you who are going to Navy, go here. Even then, let's break it down again. Morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 50 of you should come. We know their name, we know everything. Then from 10 a.m. to this time, this group of people should come. I was sad to hear that some of the victims have nothing to do with the exercise. How do you allow their families to come in there? The military doesn't operate like that. Because when you get to the point, they would have checked. You have a sheet you are holding. They would have checked that it is you who have applied. Your mother, your father, your uncle, your brother.
They went there earlier than they went there before the officials even came. As early as 3 a.m., 4 a.m., people started going there. And the thing happened at 6 a.m.
And I'm saying that all these things could have been avoided if they have staggered the process and decentralized the process properly and communicated same. And they had put in place that if you come there before the appointed time, that alone is enough for us to disqualify you, will not attend to you. I oppose to even asking people this number to come with their original certificates. You and I know that once you misplace your original certificate, nobody will print it, no investor will give it to you again. You have to either go for attestation or what have you. They have sent this document to you online. It is now your responsibility to contact the institutions they claim they are coming from to authenticate the veracity of the certificate they have submitted. Why are you asking them to carry the hard copies, the photocopies, and come to the place again? I think that the military as an institution need to go back and do some introspection and correct some of
Will you say the military, as we know them, this time they failed us with the process?
You see, maybe for the past 8 years, I'm not too sure if we saw any mass recruitment as we are seeing it now. People were always passing out. But as to how they were recruited and when they were recruited, we all didn't know about it. Every day we saw people wearing new uniform and coming out. I'm sure Hyangba was doing it from his office quietly. They select their boys and their girls. Some of them were 45 years and 48 years. Some of them were even breastfeeding. Before you realize, after 2 weeks, they are wearing police uniform. They are wearing immigration uniform. We saw all manner of things happening. This time you said you want to be transparent. You have published in the dailies. So right from the beginning, you are aware of the total number of people who applied. It's not if you didn't know.
Very well.
So when the brigadier made a point that means that they were taken by surprise with the shared numbers, that cannot be true. Because they knew about the numbers before the date was fixed for the state. And so they could have put the contingency measures in place or protocols in place to prevent this from happening. I am saying that we should go back to the drawing board. And then do the right thing.
So the suspension of the exercise is in order.
I perfectly agree.
And so before they come back, these measures you are suggesting,
all these measures should have been put in place. The police have announced, and the police, fire service, immigration, they are opening their portal, I think, on the 15th to start selling the form. I pray that they take a cue from what has happened. Yesterday, the minister, Honorable Mumutaka, addressed the press, and they have detailed out their modalities. The press conference here alone is not enough. We should get into the local language, get to our community radios, let the prospective applicants understand exactly what you intend to do and how they must go about it. And as I said, if we can do these things even at the district level and all that, I don't think we'll have the numbers that we have over here.
It's disappointed. I mean, has the military failed us, you know, on this particular score?
Very good. Selorm, who has failed us? The buck stops with who? The commander-in-chief.
The commander-in-chief.
No, the commander-in-chief.
Ghana Armed Forces.
The commander-in-chief.
Who was in Kumasi, what's the name? Commissioner the Agro project. He should be.
The buck stops with him, that's what I'm saying. Or because in Kumasi, he's not in charge. Is that what you're saying? It's unfortunate and a very painful thing to have happened. I take no delight in talking about this because it's painful. These young people including the very unfortunate 7 or 6 actually that passed on.
All ladies.
Yes, all ladies. Must have voted for the NDC just for purpose of making a point.
What's the connection?
I thought you were going to stay
The
away from
connection is
this.
coming.
What's the connection? Okay.
Stop laughing. You're wearing black.
I'm wearing black. You are not wearing black. I'm mourning them.
So stop laughing.
Go ahead.
And with the hope that they'll get a job. Because that was what they promised. That was what the NDC Fred was running around in Guam saying, oh, jobs, jobs. I don't know how many he's provided, because so far the record shows 0. And what you see on the screen is a demonstration of the worsening job situation under the NDC. It's bad. It's painful. I've been speaking to young people.
To be fair, I mean, 10 months in office, they couldn't have created a lot of jobs to absorb all these people.
Just tell us what they have created commensurate with their 10 months or 11 months in government. They should tell us.
Okay.
But somehow we have seen the worsening of the situation. The worsening of the situation. Look,
What's the way forward?
The way forward,
recruitment, for
the way
example?
forward is to say that 800,000 jobs they're talking will not suffice. It will not. And then, is that a negative thing? It's a positive thing. I'm saying that it won't suffice. In other words, do more. You understand? He's still back in campaign mode, Fred. You understand? So the point is that government must meet this youth bulge that is driving our country's desire for employment. They promised, they created this impression for people. They gave the expectations that they will create jobs, 24-hour economy, no show so far. In fact, was it 20,000 work? So if you take 20,000 typically, and then they say that the 24-hour economy was going to do 133. So it means that out of that 20,000, the clearance that is given, you can clearly get 9,000 there, right? There's a third, well, let's just say 4,000. So you can get 12,000 people. So 8,000 people is, okay, you wait, we are going to morph you into maybe the police recruitment or something. You find a way to do it, but that's what they promised us. We haven't seen it. So why can they not do 133 with the military? If they said that was something, well, they come, they will do it. They haven't done it. So young people in this country are struggling. They are struggling. And what I want to plead with Fred, and Fred, you've spoken well on this matter. You haven't been exceedingly political about it. But you see, what I would say is that your NDC guys, don't be defending the government against the interests of the people, because what the pain that the people are in, I'm advising you beforehand. You see, Selorm, I have been engaging. No, I have been engaging young people. And just, I came back to Accra just, yesterday dawn. Yeah? It's difficult. Okay? So when we are talking about numbers and Dr. Teo and is looking at laptop and all of that, it is on the ground that you will see that the thing is not moving. It's hard. Okay? So we have a serious job situation. The 800,000, do something about it. Even that is over 3 years or something. So do something. And the next thing is that we should find a way to memorialize these young people as a way of saying that this will not happen again. Okay? Beyond the regime that they will recruit, replacement from their family, that's good. I think I commend that thinking. But beyond that, let's memorialize them. If we, by what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had done with digitalization, the NDC still can't see it. In order to use a digital process all through to the point they have to meet people. So the point is that let's memorialize these people, okay, as a basis to point to the NDC and don't do this manual thing again. And I'm going to make last point. The final point I would want to say is serious investigation. In fact, you're asking General, my very, very good friend and father, it's something that we must ensure that it happens. The investigation must be done for two things. One, for purposes of advising us the right way forward, and two, to punish. Because especially where the option existed where they can put them in service badges. And somebody said, no, let's just bring all of them together. That's very negligent. So individuals, let this research,
so there should be accountability.
And then ensure that.
Great.
But I want to ask General one question. In 1974, or even before then, 84, sorry, before then, has the payment of enlistment forms been part of their recruitment? Because that for me, that for me is an extortion, is an abuse that must not be allowed to continue.
Yes, there's a question to you. Did you hear that?
The question about
the fact that now they pay for the forms before recruitment, the forms to fill before they recruit. Yes. The question is that was that so in the past? In the past, before you joined, did you have to pay for the forms to fill, etc., or is this a new phenomenon?
In fact, this has been a bordering issue when I was in service or working for the previous government. And I can emphatically tell you that my personal opinion is what I am expressing publicly. We did not, or in the old days, nobody paid anything for recruitment in terms of buying a form or even going to do a medical examination. The poor funding of the security services, and especially the armed forces, is what culminated into some of these things of charging these fees under the very eyes of government and so forth. And I don't know where this was even ever expressed as a policy statement or regulation to even govern the amount of money that you should even collect by way of a digital application. So this, I would just frankly say that the administration of the armed forces itself, not only the armed forces, all institutions of government with very, very little, budgetary allocations, and the government pays what they can pay, and then you also pay out what you can also do. So the answer is just very simple. It wasn't used to be the case. And then why take, like the other panel member was talking, you are going to take only 4,000 and you sell application of 60,000? We can't debate this. It's part of the things that we should make policies and directives work.
Very well.
We are in a constitutional rule, and there are processes, procedures, which we must all adopt. So if somebody is found foul of the particular incident, he is taken through proper procedures of arriving at a solution or a decision.
Very well. Thank you.
Look at the number of people. I said in the previous incident, it was the same. But for the past 8 years, this incident with similar crowd, maybe nothing happened. That's why it was overlooked. The disaster at, stadium disaster, the match between Kotoko and the House of Oak, and police method of quelling the destruction of tables, done very poorly, and people died. What happened? There was a commission of inquiry. Some policemen were charged to court, and the court adjudicated and even set them free. Not that they set them free, because it's not all negligence that people must be punished for. But at least they went through
the process, and the process discharged them or acquitted them.
And any unlawful death happening anywhere
must be investigated.
The government has a mandate to institute a coroner's inquiry. Yes, this is the law.
That is so.
People have died.
Yes, very well.
Institutional investigation must go on for them to know what went wrong with their own methods of what they did.
Very well.
The government inquiry will come to give the overall broad directives to all these institutions.
Very well. Thank you.
We are normally discussing more problems than even giving solutions to the problems that have come. And we all keep shouting about the problem. What is the solution?
Very well.
And I'm sure that's why you've called this discussion. So anybody contributing to this debate or this discussion, it's my view that not only expressing what the institution has done wrong, but that one we all know it was wrong for them to have done blah, blah, blah. The question was, and so what? And so in future, we should do this, blah, 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 blah.
Very well.
So that is my contribution.
We really appreciate it. Thank you
this,
so much.
yes.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General Ofe Saki. He's a retired General of the Army of Ghana. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Thanks so much to my other guests, Richard, Fred, and Theo. My name is Selorm Adonoo. Thanks so much for doing the listening and the viewing. Catch you same time next week. Have a pleasant afternoon.